Show me your moves.
And good evening, citizens of Mushroom Kingdom, and welcome to another episode of Geeklife, your source for all the nerdy news you need to know. If you're new to the show, we're a 2.5-hour mashup of all the pop culture news you know and love. We talk about TV, movies, video games, and anti-fascist political agendas, and so much more. I am your host, the Dodd, the streamer this podcast needs, but not the one it deserves. And joining me today is a man whose beard says "You shall not pass," but his headband says "Supreme." Jake the Great. How are you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing good, Dodd. You know, living the dream. Living the dream. Wait. Oh, yeah. No, I'm doing good. Doing great, man.
Yeah. The dream. The dream to stay awake, the dream. Also joining me today, venting all the way from Electrical to be here with us, Comrade Kev has joined the fray. How are you doing today, Kev?
I'm doing fantastic, Dad. I'm jealous that Jake gets to dream. I just sleep.
Yeah.
Maybe. I sometimes. Sometimes I'm just awake.
Sometimes you gotta do task in Electrical. You know, you never know. So, how have you guys been surviving the apocalypse? What's been the latest binge? I know that at least Jake, you and I got to check out some WandaVision. I got the taste of the first 2 episodes there. Any feels on that?
Yeah, no. So I have no idea what the hell's going on. It's definitely it's been an interesting show so far, and it's only 2 episodes in. Yeah. It's been really captivating in a weird way. If you watched I Love Lucy or any of those old married couple kind of black and white shows on Nickelodeon, maybe super late at night, Nick at Night before they made TV Land or whatever. And so if you're like me, or if you're that old, just an age check right there, then this show probably really caught your attention, especially these first 2 episodes, but then also some of the weirdness, man. And then also you can't go wrong with Kitty Foreman, dude.
Right.
I love seeing Eric Foreman's mom back on television. I don't know her real name, so she's just Kitty to me. And the other dude, his name is Red. I don't give a fuck what his real name is. He's Red.
Well, I was super psyched to see all the little cameos they dropped throughout the series. Yeah. Those were cool. Seeing the Sword logo in there. Don't know how Sword comes into this, but we know Sword's involved. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Kev, what about you? What have you been doing to survive the apocalypse?
I've just been, me and my friends have weirdly been getting back into Rainbow Six Siege, playing a little some comp in there, and we've been absolute trash, garbage. Just to give you context, we were platinum level players. I peaked so far at just shy of copper, so it's been going fantastic. The road back to glory has been great.
That's awesome, man. I caught you on stream with the Fattest Axe the other day playing some Dead by Daylight, and I just could not get over the fact that your character you're playing looked like Jason Bateman. But
I died so many times. I died every time, actually. Every game we played, I died, except for the one game where the killer wasn't playing.
Yeah. Y'all were fun to watch, though.
It was a lot of fun.
We've got a big show today, so before we get started, a quick reminder to everybody that if you like what you see or hear on the show tonight, feel free to follow us at Geeklife Live or on any of our social medias. We've got plenty of social medias here for Geeklife. You can find those in our bio below. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and we've got a lovely Discord that you can join below. Click that icon that says Join the Nerd Herd today. Also, you can follow any of us on our personal social medias. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Rusbane, WRUSE_BANE. Kev, where can they find you?
Totally Awesome, or Kevin Todd Jr. on all other socials.
And for you, Jake?
You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live on both the Twitch and the Twitters. Most of the time, I'm just tweeting about this show and existential crises. No,
it's a good mix. It's a good healthy blend.
Same thing. No,
yeah, right?
Basically, yeah.
Well, we've got a great show for you guys. Jake, hit us with that rundown.
Oh, did someone say rundown? Because we've got rundown. It's time for the rundown. First, we'll dig between the cushions and find more French fries than TV remotes for this week's TV news. No Cap. We could be getting more Cap. A double dog Daredevil, this fan favorite, to make a comeback. And Jessica Jones might be seeing green, and I'm not talking with envy. Next, we'll go into the movies. Wait, oh, fuck, I messed that up. I was supposed to sing it. Next, let's all go to the movies. For this week's movie headlines, grab your unicorn plushies because the MCU is finally complete. Sneak peek at some upcoming 2021 bangers has us saying, finish him. And finally, we're overclocking just to get 30 FPS on Cyberpunk. It's time for some video game news. The mouse is moving on from EA. Bethesda's new game has snakes. Why is it always snakes? And 2020 was for Bowser, but it looks like Mario may be here to save 2021. And then, as always, we'll dive deep in this week's Deep Dive. Nintendo, a one-up for the world, which goes really well with our top Zen this week, the most underrated Nintendo characters of all time. But that's enough rundown. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes. Dodd, is America's ass here to stay?
It might just be, Jake. It might just be. Chris Evans has reportedly going to be returning as Captain America on possibly either Falcon and Winter Soldier or another upcoming Marvel series. According to comicbook.com, Chris is reportedly resuming the role of Captain America after largely thought to being finished with it after Avengers Endgame. Evans is expected to return in at least one Marvel property, with the deal leaving the door open for him to appear in another movie later. The report points that Evans will be reprising the role in a supporting capacity, not a standalone Captain America movie. My guess is that Captain Falcon and the Winter Soldier series is going to be the best bet for where we're going to see Cap next, in my opinion. But there could possibly be the idea that someone's been throwing around that we could get a TV series where we see Cap getting all the Infinity Stones back where they belong. Because there's a lot of unanswered questions there, especially when you get to the ether stuff. What does he do? Does he inject that back into Jane, or does he there's a lot of complicated stuff when it comes to putting the Infinity Stones back where they belong. Of the two of those options, though, an Infinity War Stone series, although the Infinity Stone series, he would be more in. That would clearly not be a supporting role, right? That would be you would be following Cap through those things. So I don't know. You might not see it there. There's a possibility we could see him in some of the upcoming movies as well. He could be appearing in Black Widow. He could be appearing in, maybe even a future Captain America movie where he's kind of passing the torch down onto either Falcon. I mean, Falcon was who he passed the shield down to in Infinity War, but it's kind of been speculative of whether or not he's really going to be doing a Captain America movie with the whole Captain America title and everything else. So, which would you guys rather see?
I'm curious. I kind of want to see this Falcon Winter Soldier series. Just because they have been teasing it for so long, and I think it's time to transition to what's canon in the comic books anyway, right? I mean, I know it is Falcon, but really the natural progression is him ultimately becoming Captain America. Mm-hmm. But I still want to see more Chris Evans as Cap. Like, that's just it's hard, Yeah.
I mean, I think we could see him in kind of like a Batman Beyond kind of mentor-esque state. He could still be old man Cap cool. and still be a part of it, and he's just not the one throwing the shield around. Jake, what do you think?
No, I mean, I really I definitely think he will make some sort of cameo appearance in the Captain and Winter Falcon or Winter Soldier or the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. I definitely think he's gonna do something in there. But the Infinity Stone show, God, that'd be dope, dude. Like a standalone Chris Evans Infinity Stone show. There was actually a lot of time in between, because of how weird time got in the last, the Marvel movies so far, or up until where we're at, right? Whatever phase it is. Yeah. And so, it would be interesting to see them go back and tell, what did Cap do during that time? What he did with all the Infinity Stones, right? Yeah. And so, especially for that timeline, and I think Chris Evans is I think he enjoys the role enough to actually do a show like that, because Disney Plus, especially with some of these Marvel shows, at least with our first glimpse of the first Marvel show with Wanda and Vision, visually it looks great. It definitely it doesn't look like they really missed out too much on the budget, from obviously from a Marvel movie to a Marvel show. some parts that looked cheesier I feel like they did that on purpose, for the 50s kind of show look or whatever.
Yeah.
But overall, man, I'd be excited to watch any of them. You can give me, Chris Evans as Captain America for 10 more movies, and I'd probably be happy for it.
And bigger story here, things are going. TV's transitioning to the big dog in Hollywood now, right?
Yeah.
Everything before was blockbuster movies, but that's just not the way the world is going. And it seems that, I just saw a commercial right before we started the show. I think it was The Rock, Gal Gadot, and Ryan Reynolds, and they were talking about their movies on Netflix. And there was Jessica Alba was in it, Lin-Manuel Miranda was in it. So I think there's going to be to get to the point of the quality. I think it's going to go up over time because people are just going to be flocking more to streaming devices and platforms and the theaters now.
Not only did Netflix change the game, but I feel like AMC with Breaking Bad and some of those shows really changed the game. And then HBO's always been a banger, right? HBO's always known that they could tell these movie-like, stories through episodic adventures like The Sopranos and, all of those that they even started with. But I feel like AMC and Breaking Bad was basically told basic cable, hey, step your fucking game up. You can make movie quality stuff, guys.
Hold on, wait a minute. AMC, this is my dumb brain. AMC, the television company, and the theater company are the same, right?
I would assume,
So why are they so behind on this? It's not how to put out TV series.
Yeah, it's a classic, and we could probably do a whole deep dive on how corporations don't listen to creatives, but we'll get there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, speaking of hopeful returns, the Daredevil might be making a hopeful return as well. Tell us a little bit more about this, Kev.
Yeah, my good boy Charlie Cox. New hope is on the rise for the return of Daredevil. Kevin Feige himself has said everything is on the table. When Netflix confirmed that it wouldn't be renewing its entire slate of Marvel series, fans were disappointed, myself included, for a number of reasons. Though the prevailing disappointment centered around the idea that we wouldn't see the specific performers bring these figures to life again anytime soon. Of these actors, fans were particularly devastated that Charlie Cox would seemingly no longer play Daredevil. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige was recently asked about how the Netflix series would factor into the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though he dodged addressing anything related to Cox's possible return. A look at anything that's happened before, whether it's our movies, whether it's Marvel Entertainment, TV series, and particularly, obviously, the comics, video games, cartoons, all of it is available as inspiration for the future of Marvel. Feige shared with Collider when asked if MCU would incorporate elements from the Netflix series. That's the way the comics have worked for 80 years, so we'll see. Charlie Cox has also supposedly wrapped up his filming Spider-Man 3. Cox is expected to be playing Matt Murdock in the film alongside Tom Holland's Peter Parker, though at this point it's unclear if it will be the same version of Daredevil that many fans know and love from the Defender series on Netflix, or if it's some sort of multiversal reboot. Comic book first revealed knowledge of Cox being on the Spider-Man 3 back in December on Friday's Phase Zero podcast. Guys, are you fans of Daredevil? Do you need to see him back like I do?
I would love to see him back. I think one of, if not for Charlie Cox's Daredevil, for Kingpin. The Kingpin of that series was hands down one of the most ominous villains, probably, and I would put him up there as a performance incomparable to some of the great villain performances that we've seen out there, like Heath Ledger's Joker, Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger, and Kingpin from the series. I don't know who the actor is. That's why I feel like that's a bad part of it. But I think seeing Charlie Cox's Daredevil come back to life in any way, shape, or form would be great, and I think that Disney Plus really can open the door for that series to really, really immerse itself in the MCU. It was very much MCU adjacent, on Netflix. Like, they referenced a big event that happened in New York, and so there was some stuff there, but it wasn't like Tom Holland's Spider-Man has always been very much a part of the MCU. When they brought Spider-Man in there, they wanted to put him in a story that started him off of the MCU. And so the first story that they gave him was Vulture, and they gave him, a connection to that first attack in New York.
Yeah.
They have not been able to do that with the Marvel Netflix series. And so I would like to see that go into the hands of Disney Plus. I would like to see these characters come back. I would like to see these worlds built, but I would like to see them actually fully immersed in the MCU. I think that may be a bit of a pipe dream, though. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I think it could be a pipe dream because it just. But then also we've got other news that would beg to differ.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it looks like there could be a resurgence of a lot of characters from the Defender show within the MCU.
Yeah, just moving right along into our next story, Jessica Jones maybe possibly appearing in She-Hulk, which we already know is a Marvel Disney Plus series. Tell us a little bit more about this, Jake.
Yeah, as Marvel Studios heads into Phase 4 of the MCU, the Kevin Feige-led outfit has the opportunity to not only continue producing tentpole features for the box office, but now it also has a chance to start developing deeper, character-driven, long-form stories thanks to the introduction of Disney Plus. One of those stories has been confirmed as She-Hulk, a series that will be that will bring forth Jennifer Walters into the MCU as played by Tatiana Maslany. Weeks after Ferg announced Ferg himself teased certain characters were set to show up in the series due to a courtroom nature of the show, one prominent rumor circulated online suggests that Christian Ritter could soon return as Jessica Jones, which I think has a lot of people pretty excited. Like I said, this would be another one of the Defenders characters showing up in a Disney Plus original, which almost brings a little bit more clout to, you know, the kind of like fan clamoring for Deadpool, or not Deadpool, but for oh my God, Daredevil to make his comeback as well. And so the only thing though is that, you know, we have to temper our expectations because you know, Ritter herself has seemingly come out against the idea of reprising the role even after 3 seasons of her own show plus starring in the Defenders. And so only time will tell on this one. You know, obviously these are all still some pretty new rumors. But Dodd, what do you think? What do you think about maybe Jessica Jones making a comeback, and what iconic characters would you love to see make appearances in shows like She-Hulk?
I think, especially the MCU Jessica Jones is a great pick for kind of a mentor for She-Hulk in this occasion.
Yeah.
I think that you know, there's I think that the character's already well established. I think that she could really kind of bring some life to the character that kind of grounds this new She-Hulk character out there. We've already got a great actress playing her, the girl from Orphan Black. I think that the series is already set to be a success. Introducing as many kind of characters that can already ground it in an established universe, I think is only going to add to it. Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, I think first off, anytime they're bringing back anyone from the Defenders, except for maybe Iron Fist in season 2 of Luke Cage, I'm all here for it because I think it was such a underrated cast and underrated show. Like Daredevil is probably one of my favorite shows I've watched, not just on Netflix but anywhere. And same with Jessica Jones. And yeah, they need to just reprise those roles in any way they can.
I think they nailed that cast for the most part.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why, like, a lot of people they want to see Daredevil back, and they want to see Jessica Jones back, and they want to see Luke Cage back. At least those 3. Like you said, Iron Fist. I think a lot of people were like, we could have done a little better there, you know, like or something. Yeah. But like I think for the rest of the Defenders, like they really nailed these castings, and so I think that's why a lot of fans would really like to see them reprise these roles, especially, you know, with Disney Plus taking the reins. Man, they could do a lot more. Kind of like they could do a lot more just with the IP. So it's going to be really interesting to see what comes from all of this.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see it, and you know, hopefully it turns out to be as good a series as we're excited to see of it. But you know, you never know. There is a lot of properties coming out; they can't all be good, right?
Exactly.
Moving right along into our movie news, Deadpool is in the MCU. Hype! According to Collider, Marvel head Kevin Feige did a few interviews ahead of a Disney Plus premiere for WandaVision. It was there that producer opened up about Deadpool 3, confirming its R rating and that Ryan Reynolds is helping oversee the script. Feige doesn't believe that the movie will get underway this year, but Ryan Reynolds says that he wants to make sure that they get Deadpool's entry into the MCU just right, saying, quote, "He will not be filming this year. Ryan is a very busy man, a very successful actor. We've got a number of things we've already announced now that we have to make, but it's exciting to have begun. Again, a very different type of character in the MCU, and Ryan is a force of nature, which is just awesome to see this character bring to life. He also, of course, again, as we said earlier, confirmed the R rating. And yeah, so I think that this is the two biggest questions that we would want asked about Deadpool. Are we going to get a Deadpool 3? Sorry, three big questions. Are we going to get a Deadpool 3?
Yes.
Is it going to be R rating? And will it be in the MCU? We got all those answers right here in one interview about WandaVision. You know, just that's the Marvel news we needed all year. Thank you, Kevin Feige. Now, with that said, they are trying to make sure that they get the entry into the MCU right. We just talked about that entry into the MCU being, you know, kind of challenging for some of the other shows that were on the Netflix Marvel series. How would y'all bring Deadpool into the MCU, Kev?
In a perfect world, in my world, just how he is. You know, rated R, uncut, unfiltered. Deadpool.
No, but like story-wise.
Oh, story-wise. I don't know. Maybe he breaks the fourth wall of Endgame and is like narrating it, and then just absolutely throws himself in at that last scene, and then he's in the MCU. Like I think it has to be some sort of creative, irreverent way that's is in the nature of Deadpool. You know?
How would you pull Deadpool into the MCU, Jake?
Fighting Thanos for the love of death. I think it's probably one of the best ways.
I think it's a good one, yeah.
To bring him in. Like, they were always competitive, you know, like in the comics for Death's love, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, neither man could really win her favor. And so I think, like, just throwing that in the mix, I thought they were going to bring his love, you know, affair with Death kind of into the second one in a way, but then it turned out like, oh, wait, no, that it actually is his girlfriend, you know,
right.
or whatever. And so it's one of those where, like, I just hope they kind of like do that. I mean, Secret War, obviously a lot of people are probably thinking it could be Secret Wars, like, because, you know, that's one of the ways that they did kind of the Avengers Civil War retold through the eyes of Deadpool, you know?
Yeah.
And so that could be an interesting one, but I really think Deadpool fighting Thanos for the love of death would be an interesting way to throw him into the MCU. And plus, I love Thanos too. Like,
right.
You know, and the actor that played Thanos was phenomenal as well. And so, like, having them go head to head, you know, like, I think would be phenomenal. So
yeah, I agree.
I think that's a great way to do it. If that's my pick now too. If we're bringing Deadpool in the MCU, I want to see him fight Thanos and lose. I mean, that'd be great. I mean, you just
Could we bring Brolin's Cable back too? Would that be weird?
That would be weird. That would be weird, but in a way that Deadpool would work. Like
right. I think Deadpool would make it make sense.
I think that is even better, right?
Have actually them fight at one point,
right? That gives you a link to how they got there too, because Cable could solve that whole issue of how he finds Thanos and the whole universe and all that kind of stuff. So I think that could work. So hire us, Marvel. I'm telling you, we got good ideas.
Write it all down.
But that isn't the only first look that we got in the movie section this week. We also got our first look at the Mortal Kombat movie, along with even a punch from the new King Kong Godzilla movie through some of the HBO Max reveals. Jake, tell us a little bit about what's going on with that.
Yeah, so several stills released from the upcoming film, along with new info from King Kong and Space Jam 2, gave us a first glimpse at the new Mortal Kombat movie. HBO Max released a new trailer about everything that's basically going to be dropping on HBO coming in 2021. And throughout that trailer, we got a lot of little tasties of, you know, basically a lot of banger movies that WB is going to be producing this year. And so a few of them, at least that I know that this show, some of our viewers are going to be super excited about. Of course, not all, like, you know, there's a lot of them. So I know there's some that we missed. But the three big ones that I guess I'm excited about were Godzilla versus King Kong, Space Jam: A New Legacy, and Mortal Kombat. And they all got, you know, little bits of footage in this same day HBO, or in this HBO Max premiere. And all of those will be going to theaters, by the way, on the same time dropping on HBO Max. So you can still see these on the big screen if you'd like, but they will also be dropping on HBO Max at the same time. This new footage for these highly anticipated movies arrives on the heels of some big updates from Warner Brothers earlier this week. On Friday, the first images from the new Mortal Kombat movie were finally shared with fans. These images teased the arrival of iconic Mortal Kombat characters, including Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I meshed those names together, so screw, you know, sue me. Additionally, it was announced that Godzilla vs. King Kong would, you know, premiere earlier than expected, with its new release date being pushed up from to May 21st it's being pushed up to March 26th from May 21st. So we're actually going to get Godzilla versus King Kong in March, which is some pretty awesome news as well that we just got. And so this Mortal Kombat looks very familiar to the old flicks, and I don't know if that's a good thing, but how are you feeling about that, Kev?
It's definitely not. if we're being honest, if they're like, yeah, we need to remake and do a nod to the old Mortal Kombat movies. No, they don't. They need to get as far away from those disasters as possible.
No, what are you talking about? You don't like even Mortal Kombat 1?
Bro, no. The Mortal Kombat 1,
the
Mortal
greatest movies ever made.
Kombat 2, they were awful. I remember one time, I forget where it was. I think it was on Netflix or HBO somewhere. I saw that it might have been Netflix. I was like, oh shit, Mortal Kombat 2's on here. I'm about to watch this. This movie was lit. I stopped 30 minutes in, and I was so upset
bad.
That
my God. See,
so
I
bad.
haven't seen these movies since I was like probably a kid.
Oh, don't.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And
No. Hold on. I won't say don't. Like, just get really high and watch them. Like, they're hilarious.
In my head, Mortal Kombat was a banger. Like, at least the first one. I know that they started to get off the kind of like get a little crazy, but like in my head, the first Mortal Kombat movie was really good. I don't know. I haven't seen it since I was a kid,
man.
and so I should probably go back and check it out. Now, I do know that they did my boy Reptile dirty. It was just like some weird fucking lizard thing. And I loved Reptile in the game because he could spit the acid and, had the little acid ball and shit. He was very defensive but offensive. And so, and he was the green version of like Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and green's my favorite color.
You had yellow and blue and then green. It's like, oh shit, what the fuck's going on here? We got more ninjas.
Yeah, and like, is this the Power Rangers? But shit, like in my head that movie's good, so I may have to go back and watch it, or I may just have to wait for this new one, which hopefully, I mean, given it's 2021 and technology's way better than it was back then, we can actually do something with this Mortal Kombat movie. Yeah. I think there's something there. There's something to that that can be a good movie.
I mean,
the games have good stories.
Look, I mean, you're gonna have a lot better animation now. So, like, when Scorpion's doing that thing and his hand opens up, we can actually like make that. Okay. Well, let's not redo that. But like, we could do that if we wanted to a lot better. And like the ice actually forming, that was one thing I did notice. Like the ice and everything, it seemed to me to have a lot of the same aesthetics of the old one, because people have the nostalgia for the old one. But you've got to work up on that story. You got to.
The great shaman said the CGI guy for Mortal Kombat lied about knowing how to do it.
He definitely did.
He put on his resume like, I know CGI, and then they brought him in and they were like, "Can you make this guy shoot a fireball?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, for sure."
But props
he
to him,
Googles.
He did, right, exactly. It's even more impressive.
Oh shit, that's before Google. Yeah, no, this dude literally just like he fucked Photoshop raw. And if Photoshop was around, I don't even know. That was like what?
You know what? That's honestly how you can tell where CGI was, because I guarantee you, if Google and YouTube was around back then, it probably would have been a little bit more polished. But back then, it was like, fuck, back man, who knew how to do this? Dave, how do you make the fireballs again?
He's calling a friend of his. Do you know how to make fireballs?
And if you piss off Dave, like, you're done. Like, you gotta figure out how to make it up to Dave, because if you
go
piss
back
off
to
Google,
CGI for dummies.
Right, if you piss off Google, you don't have to amend the relationship back to get what you need. You just get to search again,
We're talking shit, but this guy learned how to do stuff on computers via a book.
Right.
Remember, not on the computer. Like, now you learn how to do stuff on it,
Right.
And so it's like, but back in the day, dude had a book open. Like, okay, so I got to code it.
Two different dimensions crossing.
Yeah. Right. Anyway, we're off the rails.
Well, we normally, when we're talking about Mortal Kombat, it's in the video game section, which is a great way to transition into the actual video game section, in which we have a great headline to start us off there. Bethesda is developing an Indiana Jones. Yeah, it's because it's about a movie. So we got movies about games and games about movies. Bethesda is developing an Indiana Jones game. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with that, Kev.
Yeah, speaking of movies and games and hoping that they're not terrible, Bethesda Machine Games are working on an Indiana Jones game, according to a teaser released on Tuesday. A brief video shared on social media showed a desk cluttered with all sorts of journals and tools of exploration, and records from the journeys before ending with a short and at the iconic key components of the Indiana Jones characters, his whip and hat. No further details about a release date were provided in the teaser, but a follow-up statement from Bethesda indicated it will be a while before more is revealed. A new Indiana Jones game with an original story is in development from our studio Machine Games and will be executive produced by Todd Howard in collaboration with Lucasfilms Games. Bethesda said in its tweet, "It'll be some time before we have more to reveal, but we're very excited to share today's news." There's also the question of what platforms the game will be available on, considering how Microsoft now owns Bethesda. Microsoft hasn't ruled out the idea of Bethesda's games coming into platforms other than Xbox and has said that those situations would be assessed on a case-by-case basis. But a new Indiana Jones game could very well be an Xbox exclusive. Jake, are you down to break into Bethesda Studios since it's only like 30 or 40 minutes away from us and get some more inside tips and secrets?
Storm Bethesda.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, honestly, I'm very excited for this one. Indiana Jones translates so well into a video game, and especially nowadays with the tech that we have. Like, I feel like I'm so thankful that they waited until 2021 to make an indie video game rather than, because, dude, they were making... I know there has been, I think there was an 8-bit indie video game back in the day, side-scroll or something like that was really good. Yeah. I'm pretty sure there may have... I don't know if there's ever been 3D, though, like 3D platform.
I'm sure there was. Movie games were like...
No, exactly. I'm assuming it was some sort of Tomb Raider-style game. Like they probably did something like that at one point. I would literally have to Google it, but the fact that I never played it says a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I am an indie fan, so like, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with this, new one and everything, and how the game comes out. And I love Bethesda, so yeah, I'm definitely sold.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be cool. Move over, Uncharted, right?
Right.
There's a new.
The fact that it could be an Xbox exclusive also has me pretty stoked.
Yeah, I mean, y'all need some exclusives in that way.
We do.
We've
got Spider-Man.
We've got Spider-Man all day,
Spider-Man.
man.
I'm gonna take. I'll take
Sony property, But y'all can have Indiana Jones.
So there were Indiana Jones games, Lego Indiana Jones, and there was one, the Staff of Kings, I think, on the Wii and PS2.
Nice,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Moving right along, in more video game news about movies, EA loses its exclusivity to making Star Wars games. Hey-o! There we go.
Ding dong, the witch is dead. The wicked witch, the wicked. I feel like people should be dancing.
Yeah, so EA has lost its right to make Star Wars games. Ubisoft is in development of its own Star Wars game as well. Ubisoft said that... Jake, you're the one that has info on this, not me. Tell us a little bit what's going on with the Star Wars game here.
Yeah, basically as Dot alluded to, EA has officially lost the exclusivity of making Star Wars game, and Ubisoft is in development of an open world Star Wars game.
Thank God.
Ubisoft said it will develop a new Star Wars game, indicating a lifetime exclusivity agreement for ending essentially what has been a lifelong exclusivity agreement with EA and the Walt Disney Co. Franchise will come to an end. The new Star Wars title is set to be the first not published by EA since Disney acquired Lucasfilms in 2012. The news sent shares of the two gaming companies diverging Wednesday. Ubisoft's climbed more than 7%, while EA fell by 3.2% when the stocks were called. The agreement with EA is scheduled to expire in 2023 completely, which means, and basically, like, if you're kind of like a little confused, like, oh, well, if the agreement doesn't expire until 2023, is this game not coming out until 2023? No, that's not necessarily the case. They basically, Disney said, fuck you, we're not going exclusive anymore. And EA said, okay, we're not going to sue you because you're Disney. And so they still have an agreement, and EA may still push out any games that they haven't finished, but it looks like the relationship between the two is finally over. At least, from a high level perspective. Ubisoft said that its new game will be set in an open world environment and will be developed by the company's massive entertainment team in Sweden, which is best known for the series of shooting games, Tom Clancy's The Division. Now, I know The Division had some mixed reviews, and so I'm hoping this team's learned a lot. But they are also working on a new game based on James Cameron's Avatar movies. So it looks like Disney is really in bed with Ubisoft right now, as far as like, with one group of Ubisoft being able to work on both Avatar's new game and an open world Star Wars game. So how excited are you guys for not just an open world Star Wars game, but EA no longer having this exclusivity, Kevin? How does it feel?
I'm so fucking excited. I'm eating this up because in 8 to 9 years, EA has put out one good Star Wars game. One good Star
F's
Wars
in chat
game.
for EA.
No F's in chat. Take your F's back.
And that was Fallen Order. Every other game has been, well, they haven't even really released any games. They what?
No.
Battlefront
2012. They've had exclusivity since 2012, and I think they put out 3 games.
I've lost count of how many Star Wars games came out before this fucking exclusive deal even happened.
Yeah.
Like EA was like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna buy this like we usually do and do absolute shit with it. Like they do this all the time. They buy a property, they license it or whatever, and they don't do any. It's either horrible or they just completely kill the company or a game. So I'm very excited for this. And Ubisoft, I believe in Ubisoft because one thing Ubisoft does is they make their games better. And if it doesn't, and what I mean by that, if it doesn't hit right when it comes out, you can guarantee that they're going to keep that game alive.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's just what they've done. That's why we're
They'll
back
fix
playing
it.
Rainbow Six after 5 or 6 years.
I would
And it's been
wager
out.
they would never have fixed Battlefront if not for the fact Disney owned Star Wars.
Oh,
I mean,
1000%.
hey, look,
Disney got
speaking
both.
of which, I managed to wait out Battlefront till it was no longer pay to play or pay to win.
Yep.
Got it,
Same here.
got it for $5. And honestly, like I'm gonna be playing a hell of a whole lot more of that.
Oh, it's
Not a
Um,
bad game. They finally fixed it, but it took them so long. And what I'm saying is, I think they only did it because Disney made them essentially go back and fix that. Because if you look at some of their other franchises, like EA Sports is a fucking debacle. And I know me and Kevin have both talked about it in the past. But like, dude, some of the shit they pull in Madden, oh my God, if that game wasn't primarily bought by teens, there would be riots in the street.
It's ironic how capitalism breeds innovations, but apparently not in exclusive rights for video games. So like
Right.
Because there's no
2K has been
innovation.
settling
That's
that.
what happens, especially
Right,
on the
there's no
sports games.
competition
Like,
when you
yeah.
do these exclusives.
Exactly.
The companies aren't incentivized to make their games better because they're like, well, where else are they going to go?
Well, also, it's also just to bring it onto a larger conversation. This might bunny trail a bit, but like the idea is that if EA is making the best sports game out there, then your advantage as a gamer is to create a different kind of game. It's not to create another sports game. It's to create because I don't want because why would you? It's just like playing Madden. So people create stuff like NFL Street or something where you're doing something a bit different than you would be doing in Madden. And if you're the one that got to the hyper realistic in this circumstance, in this example, if you're the one that got the hyper realistic sports formula first, you're going to be the one that everyone flocks to, and that changes per format with video games, but. It's the innovations are more or less going in different directions versus improving the same product, Yeah. So that's I think where what kind of hinders it in a way.
Yeah. No, most definitely. It's just it's exciting too because I feel like not only does it hinder the innovation, but I feel like some of these companies just get lazy.
Yeah.
Like I think EA knowing it has exclusivity was basically just like, we can just produce a game and people will buy it, right?
Right.
Because it's this. I mean, like not to get too big because I think we could do a whole thing on that, but like EA not only had exclusivity to Star Wars until the mouse pulled the plug on it recently, they had they basically had the only rights to most NFL teams. The basketball had a few other people, like I think that 2K was still able to do basketball games. But no one else could fuck with the NFL. So you couldn't even do a street style game with actual NFL teams without EA suing the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And so because they had exclusive rights to all 32 NFL teams. And so with that exclusivity on the NFL for as long as they've had it, Madden has just essentially become stagnant. And I feel like that would have happened with Star Wars too, if not for the fact that Disney owns it and Disney cares about it. The NFL doesn't give a shit as long as they're making money.
Right. And what a weird business model, right? Like, here's our plan. We're gonna buy up properties, and then not do anything with them.
Yeah, or just produce garbage. So, but EA's got a lot of its own problems. I'm glad Ubisoft finally has, a chance to come out with this kind of this Star Wars game. I honestly think that Valhalla and some of the Assassin's Creed games and stuff like that they've done have been really good. So if we get a Valhalla style world, like open world, like Star Wars game, I'm all for it, man.
And
like,
Ubisoft, why they haven't like put out a game that's been like, oh my god, it's amazing, it's game of the year. Every game they put is like on a scale of 10, it's not been less than like an 8.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what that's kind of the best you can hope for in any situation. It's either like you're gonna enjoy this game or you're really gonna enjoy this game, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna either enjoy the game or be marginally disappointed by the fact that you still enjoyed it. You know, like that's really where you're gonna be at.
Right.
But
make all the Black Flag developers give me a pirate style, like a space pirate Han Solo game.
No. Oh my gosh!
A smuggling game?
I wouldn't be back on Geeklife. I'd just be playing that all the time.
Fucking smuggler, baby! You know, like
Space pirates are my jam. If you,
it's the reason why Treasure Planet's one of my favorite movies.
Right, Treasure Planet. That's my aesthetic.
Give me more space pirates.
Exactly. I want more of that. I love that aesthetic, and more on that later. But we got
a lot of show.
We've got a lot of show. So let's get started to get through some more of it. The year of Nintendo has begun. I don't know if you guys are aware, but earlier this week, Nintendo made a few announcements around even more Mario Madness coming in the future and continued celebration of the 35th anniversary, which was last year. Super Mario World 3D, which was previously a Wii U game, has been ported over to the Switch and has been introduced with a brand new DLC package called Bowser's Fury, which is a special map that includes a Gigantamax Bowser in the middle of the map.
Bowser's Fury?
You know, Bowser's Fury, but close. It's very, very, very close. You know, there's, especially with the Cat Mario, you're definitely not far off. But anyways. Basically this Bowser's Fury DLC is a giant map that you get to be on with a giant Fury Bowser, this, you know, huge Godzilla-sized Bowser in the middle of the field, shooting fireballs at you, and you have to go through the level, collect a whole bunch of stars till you can actually become like a giant cat Mario to fight back at him. Nintendo's new thing is just, what if we make it bigger?
Yeah.
Right? Pokemon, what if we make it bigger? Okay, great idea. Let's sell a zillion more consoles and, you know, compete with outselling our red and blue versions. And then now we're doing the same thing with Mario. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. It definitely looks like a lot of fun. I mean, who doesn't love a giant scary Bowser? You know, another Bowser form. And that will be dropping February 12th of this year. Nice. We also saw a new Mario-themed consoles, which if you, to me, they look more like Spider-Man consoles, but hey.
They kind of did, yeah.
You know, I think that it's still, you know, always cool to have new versions of the Switch, always cool to, you know, see how that looks, and I mean, just as many new versions of the Switch as we can get, right? Just keep on selling those things. As long as we have new models, right, we'll have something to stock those shelves with, so that they won't keep on getting sold out. So I'm all for that. But that was not all that Nintendo had this week. Pokemon's 25th anniversary announcement began this week, which included a marketing promo with Katy Perry, as well as the announcement of Pokemon Snap. Well, at least the release date is announced for Pokemon Snap. It's yet to see we've yet to see what Katy Perry's actual involvement will be within the anniversary. But hey, Pokemon Snap looks super fucking cool. It's probably, from the images that I've seen, probably the most immersive Pokemon game as far as the environment goes and how you interact with it. And so it's definitely gonna be one to enjoy later on, I guess, when we get a chance. I'm looking forward to streaming it, to be honest. I think it'll be a fun one for people to even watch on stream, because it's you know, you're kind of going on a Pokemon safari, you know.
It is very safari-esque, and
right.
And I hear you can actually catch small, like, photos of Katy Perry poking from behind trees. That's her actual involvement in the.
Exactly.
She's actually in Pokemon Snap, and you get extra points if you catch a Perry, is what they say. You know?
Exactly.
And when you snap it, she goes, Katy. Anyway.
Yeah, you know what? I love their whole new theme of let's make everything big.
Yeah, just go big as fuck. Like make it massive.
Like, cause I was thinking, I recently bought a Switch and I recently got reintroduced to Pokemon again, and I'm just like,
everything's just bigger. Yeah,
everything's giant. Like that's the whole thing. And then I'm like, I'm seeing like there's this whole sort of divide between Mega Evolution, not to go down another rabbit hole, but like Mega Evolutions versus Gigantamax, and I'm like.
Different
I don't know,
stuff.
it's different stuff, but I understand what they're doing here. They're like, we're doing different. And in general, always
Snorlax has a legit like village on him or something.
Right? Yeah.
But Snorlax is a little garden. So the
so
story
big.
behind Snorlax is that what happens is the seeds from when he eats the berries on his chest grow into an actual garden, which
Because
to
he gets
me,
so big. That's hilarious. Yeah.
I know, but also like if you think about it, that means the roots of the trees have got to be going in his stomach,
his epidermis.
Yeah.
and so
That just means he has good. It means he's got good moisturized skin. But
right.
But this is why Nintendo doesn't miss to me, is because they're not afraid to try new shit. Right? They're like, fuck what you're used to. We're gonna do something new, and you're probably gonna enjoy it. And for the most part, most people do.
Yeah.
The Wii U begs to differ on Nintendo doesn't miss. So
and that's the thing. So that was where I was gonna go to next. A lot of us felt that way about the GameCube, and now like the GameCube's this weird nostalgia
The
piece,
GameCube
right?
really didn't sell that great. People forget
It
about
didn't.
that.
It didn't, but it was a very underrated console. And
I've got one in my living room.
I'm wondering if that's going to happen with the Wii U, like years down the road, with like kids who played the. It was, you might right, because it was
got
what the
some
Switch.
qualities.
It was what the
Smash.
Switch was supposed to be. Yeah, yes, sir.
Double Dash is dope.
Metroid.
It has the best Mario parties.
Wind Waker.
It's just got the best,
guys,
exclusives.
we got plenty more to talk about that later.
That's true.
That is true. Our deep dive is on Nintendo, so we'll get there.
So we will definitely get there. But we do need to move on to some other news. First off, Spanish Fortnite streamer I don't know how to say this. I don't know how to say this guy. This person's name because Gref, but it's also a Spanish speaker, so I don't know if G has a different sound. Isn't it just like a J sound in there?
Well, it's an R, and I think the F. So in Spain, they have a lisp. Fun fact, they have a lisp. So like if you watch it like Glef Español, they do that because the king of Spain once had a lisp and was very insecure and required all of his subjects to speak with a lisp. And
fun fact. Well, there you
so
go.
That's what I think. That's what he was trying to do with the F, because you read it. It's like Gref,
exactly.
Right?
You've got much more information on this. Kev, why don't you walk us through the story?
Shout out to my girlfriend for telling me that. Anyway, Spanish Twitch streamer David Gref Martinez just broke the Twitch record for concurrent viewers on an individual channel, with 2.4 million watching him reveal his skin collaboration with Fortnite. Holy shit. Martinez's stream, which topped off at over 2 million viewers, handily beat the previous record for concurrent viewers on an individual stream set by Tyler Ninja Belvins in 2018 with 635,000 viewers. Oh, it's like 1.8 million difference of viewers. That's huge.
Yeah, that's
Martinez's record-breaking stream shows how streaming, whether on Twitch or elsewhere, is a global phenomenon, and that creators who don't necessarily cater to English-speaking audiences are thriving in this global ecosystem.
Shit, I need to learn Spanish.
Martinez was streaming to reveal his collaboration with the Icon series in Fortnite, a line of character skins based on top Fortnite content curators, streamers like Ninja, Lashland Power, and Kathleen Loose Fruit. Bellstan have skins based on them in the Icon series, and now Martinez joins the roster. Guys, how far away are we from getting our Fortnite skins?
We're a bit away. I think
we're close.
I will let the chat know when the Geeklife skin is live. We're working on it.
If mine has a Supreme headband, that would be dope, though.
Oh,
that's right.
That would be dope.
Yeah.
Really good beard, just like. Yeah. And I would wager to say I'd be the first chubby Fortnite character. Inclusion.
There you go.
Yeah, representation matters. Yeah.
Exactly.
I haven't seen one. I'd have bought him.
But 2.4 million viewers, guys. That's
a
nuts.
shitload. Yeah, no, dude, it makes
crazy.
It's the reason why I start all my streams with hola. Like I'm gonna start I'm literally gonna start speaking Spanish in every stream.
Out there, man. Yeah.
I mean,
Rosetta Stone.
It is one of those myths out there though, that you have to stream in English as to be a successful streamer. And I think that it's really, really awesome that there are streamers out there that are saying fuck that in their own languages.
That's bullshit, because when you think about it, like, and this is weird thing. Like, I think it's just we're all so Americanized, even when we try not to be.
Oh yeah.
Like, we watch anime with subtitles.
For real.
Like, you know, like some of my favorite shows are in Spanish, like Narcos or Bank Heist, right? Like the world's become so globalized now, and I think most of us, specifically some of, and I don't want to alienate, I don't want to be ageist here, but most younger viewers and most younger content creators are down with, you know, as far as like English-speaking territories are concerned, are also down and open to listen to, you know, people from other parts of the world, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if Twitch was able to get it so that we were able to, they had the auto subs on there, which is a technology that exists right now.
Yeah.
I have that on certain conference calls where it'll just literally create closed captions as I'm talking.
Yeah.
At the bottom. And so if they were able to do that, I mean, one, I think that would be a great feature just for accessibility in general. And two, it would allow you, especially if you don't speak the language that the streamer is speaking, to enjoy their content. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So we need to see more of it. But speaking of seeing more of, though, the CIA released a ton of info on UFOs in a downloadable format. Jake, tell us more about this.
Yes, the truth is out there. Thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, documents upon documents from the CIA about unidentified flying objects, or as you and I know them, UFOs, are now available and free to download. A website called The Black Vault is where you'll be able to find and download these thousands of declassified CIA documents about unidentified aerial phenomenon, the CIA's official term for UFOs. Some of these reports date back to the 1980s that the site's founder, John Greenwald, took a lot of effort and energy in gathering. As per Greenwald, who's been connecting with the CIA since 1996 to get his hands on this UFO declassified documents, the agency claims these are all of its documents on UFOs. So basically they're saying they gave it all to him. When explaining the amount of work he's put into research, Greenwald explained that the Black Vault has filed 10,000 FOIA requests, which is the Freedom of Information Act, in a total to amass the 2.2 million pages in its archives. That is a hefty and heavy and fascinating archive. Dodd, are you rushing to download the files and see if the truth is really out there?
I already know the truth is out there, man. I mean, I've seen this shit myself. No, I mean, I think there's a ton of information out there that's being released about UFOs, and what a time to do it right now when we're all preoccupied with other things. I think this is a great time if you're a government agency and you're trying to get information out, legitimate information about UFOs. It'd be a great time to dump it because we're too busy dealing with, you know, our own, you know, Civil War II Electric Boogaloo and the whole, you know, downfall of democracy and, you know, the rise of a global pandemic and all of these other things, an oncoming economic apocalypse. Yeah, fascism part 2. All of these things, I think it would be a great time to release some information about UFOs because, again, nobody's paying attention about it. And then when something happens, you could be like, yeah, we just classified that like 5 years ago, guys. We're part of the Galactic Federation. You know, what did you do?
It's not like it's a special thing because, and shout out to Angelica, again, my girlfriend. She gives me all my knowledge, apparently. And I swear she's not in the room, guys.
She's behind the screen with a gun. Blink twice. Blink twice, Kevin.
Say my name. No, but like Canada has been doing this since forever. Like, yeah, you can just go to a website. Yeah, here's all our stuff on UFOs. Like, it's not like this. We're like really the only ones who do it because we just like to compartmentalize shit.
Yeah,
that's just our jam.
No, and honestly, like if the CIA definitely has documents that they don't consider to be like anything that's going to freak people out, and when they declassify those, they don't mind people sharing them, and there's just this aura around CIA, right? Like if you say, oh, these are declassified CIA documents, somebody's automatically going to go, oh, I bet there's something juicy in there. And it's like, no, bro. The fact they're declassified means there ain't shit in them.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
Like they're definitely not going to tell us anything they think is going to freak anybody out. I think we even reported on the Israeli scientist that talked about, that there was aliens and the Galactic Federation and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's just one of those where, like, I believe somebody's got to be telling the truth, but I don't think the CIA is going to be the one to tell us.
Yes.
When they make it declassified, you can go ahead and bet there's not much in it.
Yeah, we'll see actual, like we'll all see actual aliens before the CIA tells us.
For real, right?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Or they'll show the fuck up.
Either that or on the way out, Trump's gonna be like, oh yeah, and there's aliens. They didn't want me to tell you about it, but I know about the aliens.
He's got like 3 days left. Watch him, like, what is it?
But
next
he's
on
already
Tuesday.
So discredited, no one's gonna believe him. Like, okay,
I know. On Tuesday, he's gonna be like, oh, by the way, Joe Biden's one of the lizard people. There are lizard people. I'm confirming the lizard people. They're aliens. They've been here for a very long time. They didn't want me to tell you. I'm not one of the lizards. And so, but anyway, have fun with your lizard person president. Goodbye.
I can see it happening. I can unfortunately actually fucking see it.
Oh, we're gonna get this episode's getting taken down. That was a joke. Do not censor us, Twitch.
Going to take a break. We promised to be right back. We will be back in about 10 minutes. But before we do, we are going to address. But before we do, we wanted to say thank you to some of our followers. The Clay Long followed us about 46 minutes ago. Thank you so much for that follow. We got the fattest sacks gifting out subs. Look at you. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Greatest Shaman, thank you for the cheer. Littlest Nelly, thank you for the cheer as well. We got 2 cheers from the Greatest Shaman. So thank you guys so much. And Brandon Bigger, you also followed us about 7 days ago as well. So that was a week ago. That was last show. But anyways, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the follows. The Clay Long, I believe that may be Clay Long. He's from Alabama. He's from Scampson. So shouts out.
Shouts out. Shout out.
I hope the internet's probably a little rocky down there, so thank you.
It may be. Let's see if we could talk about anything's going on in chat. I think people were really going crazy over the Deadpool stuff.
Deadpool's a big one.
Yeah,
I'm very excited.
CGI for Mortal Kombat lied about that. We talked about that in there. There was a little bit of chatter about the Indiana Jones stuff. It was also heard this week that Chris Pratt is being taped for a new Indiana Jones movie, according to Incubus in the chat. And then, of course, talking about Tom Holland's Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie. I mean, it feels like this whole genre is getting revitalized, right? You know, the next Tomb Raider is going to come out with something, right?
Well, we were all locked in our houses for over a year, so now directors are like, adventure,
right? We need it, And Fattest Sacks, when we got to the Star Wars, said he needs a remastered version of Knights of the Old Republic. And I feel you there. So awesome. Thank you guys so much. And I think that we will, with that, kick it back out to you, and we'll see you guys in 10. Peace.
That brought you the Batman trilogy. And then the real Batman trilogy. And then 2 shitty Batman adjacent movies comes. That's right, another fucking Batman movie. DC isn't giving up on this cash cow anytime soon. But this one's different. This one is riddled with questions.
When is this movie even coming out?
Why wear a mask if it doesn't cover your fucking mouth?
But the most important question remains unanswered.
Is he still contagious?
This spring/summer/fall, get ready for a COVID test. Batman with muscle cars. Oh, is it really? My bad. The Batman. Just the Batman.
And we are back. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. We got plenty more where that came from. We are moving right into our deep dive section, and nothing brings back the nostalgia like hearing somebody talk about those good old N64 days, am I right? Where you could gather around the couch, blow off your Smash Bros. Cartridge, and go at it for hours. But despite most of those moments dying off as online gaming was brought to the mainstream in the mid-2000s, regardless, Nintendo, just like Jake's headband, has remained supreme. Nintendo sold 6.92 million units in the U.S. alone in 2020, which surpasses in 11 months the total number of systems sold in 2019 by over 426,000. This includes the combined sales of the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Switch Lite systems, which hit over 1.35 million units in the U.S. in the month of November alone. With sales numbers so big, the Nintendo Switch achieved another milestone as the best-selling video game console in the U.S. for a record 24 consecutive months. But Nintendo is no stranger to being on the top. The SNES held the record for the most console sales in history all the way through 2006. But when Nintendo the NES held the record for the most console sales in history all the way up until 2006 when the Nintendo released the Wii. And they're also notable giants of handheld gaming. When the DS debuted, it blew all other handhelds out of the water, and continues to do so. It sold 125 million units, and in 2014 outsold iPhones and Game Boys by huge margins.
Wow.
2021 is going to be a huge year for Nintendo, with 4 of its major titles having anniversaries. We mentioned earlier Pokemon, but additionally The Legend of Zelda and Metroid are turning 35, and Donkey Kong is turning 40. This is certainly set to be an epic year for Nintendo fans, new and old alike. And it's decades upon decades of success that got them to this point. So what are the keys to their success? What makes Nintendo unique, guys? Let's start with you, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, besides, well, the biggest one is amazing characters. I think they made so they are able to ride the nostalgia wave like a Disney or like, a lot of these, current companies that are riding nostalgia waves, because they established rememberable characters that are nostalgia worthy. And so, the fact that they can come out with a new Mario game every 2 to 3 years and we buy it, it says something pretty massive for the character considering of how long he's been around. The fact that Donkey Kong games are still selling 40 years later is a true testament to like the character development of Donkey Kong and how much people really like the character of Donkey Kong alone, and Zelda too. 35 years is nothing to turn your nose up at either. That's a long time for us. And Breath of the Wild, which came out 3-4 years ago, is still one of the best games of the last almost 10 years. It feels like so. It's it's amazing just what they were able to do with characters back in the day that have continued to stand the test of time, and they've continued to pump more into these characters. They've continued to do that, but not just on the character level. You wrote here the Willy Wonka of video games.
That's how I've always described Nintendo as the Willy Wonka of video games, because they're always trying something new. They're always trying something different. Yes, they have their things that work, but they continually just change things up. They were the first ones.
They're crazy.
Yeah. When they're the first ones to bring in the Wii and the motion control there. They were the first ones to really weave that in organically into the system. That's still a part of the Switch. It's not a big part of the Switch, but it's still a functional part of the Switch. Yeah. But the Switch just mashed up. We want to have a handheld console, a console, and a motion capturing console all in one. Yeah. Put it all together in the Switch. What about you? What do you think makes Nintendo great, Kev?
Yeah, I think it's just their sort of obsessive need to always innovate, right? Like they're always trying to push the envelope. They're always they don't stay in a box, and I think and they're not afraid to fail, right? Like they'll have hits like the N64, and then they'll have the Virtual Boy, and then they'll have the GameCube, which is middle of the road underrated. Then they'll have the Wii and then Wii U and then the Switch, right? Like they're not afraid to change what works, but at the same time, they keep what works, i.e. Mario, Zelda, they're iconic characters, and they just move them on these new innovations that they try to continuously create every 6 to 8 years now, right? And I think that's one thing that's always special about Nintendo is that you're always going to get something different while also having something that's familiar. They have this weird balance, and I think that's something that they've sort of mastered in a way.
Yeah, they really have. They've balanced still being able to keep dedicated fans in, but they also bring new fans in every year as well. One of the things I was going to talk about is one of the big keys to their success is their first party games. First party games have always been a cornerstone of Nintendo's success. Nintendo characters, their worlds, their storylines. I mean, like the world of Hyrule, the Mushroom Kingdom, the whole Star Fox, the Lilat system, all these different universes. Nintendo has brought some of the video game's hugest icons, Mario just as one of them, but, Star Fox, Donkey Kong, Pikachu, huge icons. Yoshi, Samus, you can go for days. Hell, they've hit so many iconic series that they created their own series where their iconic characters fight each other, and that's in itself become an iconic series of the franchise.
Exactly.
Right.
Oh my gosh, it's like, iconic franchiseception.
And it hasn't been replicated either. Like you think other like Sony or Microsoft be able to do something similar? No. They just can't. Like
Sony tried.
I don't even think they've. Sony tried, and it wasn't.
Sony has tried.
They tried with the fighting game that brought all of their people together. And
they've got some good characters. It just doesn't work.
There is a kind of a brand loyalty with exclusive content and first party games, and it does shape how kind of a gamer you are. I mean, if I find that a lot of Xbox players are going to be the people that do cling to the big first-person shooter type games. Why? Because one of the biggest exclusive franchises out there is Halo. Yeah. And that brings people to the game. They want to buy an Xbox and put their money into it because they love the Halo franchise itself. And because of that, they're more likely to be a first-person shooter gamer. In the same way, Nintendo has done that with its first-party games. So how has Nintendo's first-party games shaped the video game industry? Kev, we'll start with you.
I think you can even like Wii Sports, right? So when they just introduced the Wii, they're like, okay, we're going to start using motion technology for gaming,
right?
And they're saying, okay, well, how can we expand that outside of people who are just habitual video game players? Well, what if we try to rope in casual gamers with ideas like things that they're familiar with, like bowling or baseball or tennis, or even just like regular calisthenic fitness activities. So that's kind of where you see the Wii come into play. And again, that's one way they're using first party to sort of using something familiar with something that is also new and innovative. And then now how can we use this with Mario, right? Like how can we use this technology to make Mario not archaic? And they continuously, they're not afraid to keep what they have, their foundation solid, right? They know what their foundation is. It's their characters. And then it's like, okay, well, how can we make these characters relevant, or how can we expand and do something different, right? Like Mario Sunshine, it's an underrated game, but it's something. It's a good example of them wanting to try something new, right? They went from 3D Mario to now it's still 3D, but we have to add an attachment to him. We have to do something different that he hasn't really done before.
Yeah,
and they do that constantly with all their characters.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, they've built. A big I feel like they've done a lot for gaming. I mean, one of the first ones that I found out today when I was doing a little bit of research talking about this was Donkey Kong invented the concept of jumping in a video game. In 1981, Donkey Kong introduced the world to Mario, a jumping plumber who was desperately trying to jumping over hurdles and climbing ladders to defeat the mighty Donkey Kong. This was the first time any video game character had actually shown a character jumping. So the simple, act of a graphical jump actually played into a whole bunch of different games.
And then years later, it introduced bongos to video.
Exactly. It's just one example of how they set the standard for the world of gaming, though. Jake, do you have any examples of how first-party games have shaped it's particularly Nintendo?
Well,
as first-party games have shaped the video game industry.
If Nintendo's characters have pushed Microsoft and Sony and all these other, gaming, corporations to essentially they push their own iconic characters, right? To try to make a Master Chief, to try to make a Kratos, right? Yeah. And so without Mario, you don't have those guys. And so I think that's one of the biggest ways that Nintendo's kind of like first-party games have changed gaming in general, because they kind of set a tone, and it's just like, as long as they're still out here innovating, making new characters, exploring new things with old characters, which I think is what you're kind of alluding to earlier. Like Mario, for a long time, was just Mario. Then he got Luigi. Then he got, to where he could have a little squirrel hat and fly. And then, like more and more things started getting added to him. And to where nowadays, like Cappy is just a natural extension of Mario in a video game, to where you're not feeling like out of place because you have this talking cap on your head and you've never had that before. And you're not feeling out of place while you're stomping around as a T-Rex, because you're just like that you possessed his body, right? And it's it's just one of those where like Nintendo's always kind of like pushed these innovations. They've changed their characters up. They've pushed what their characters can do, and that's pushed other gaming corporations like Microsoft, Sega, for as long as they were able to compete, and Sony and all these guys. They pushed them really to kind of like create.
Sega said, "Don't if you can't beat them, join them."
Exactly. Sega was like, "Yo, we're tired of competing. Do y'all want Sonic?" And they were like, "We'll fucking take Sonic." And so like,
here's them at the Olympics.
Yeah, exactly. But I definitely think like. I don't want to see what gaming would be like without Nintendo, because I don't know what it would be like.
It literally wouldn't exist. Like, there's a documentary on Netflix. And I remember we talked about this when I was in college, where it's like Nintendo literally saved video games. Like, they had died after Atari, and then Nintendo brought them back from the dead.
For real.
F's for Dream Chat. Yeah.
F's in chat for Dreamcast.
F's for Dreamcast. What an iconic console that just was way ahead of its time. The world was not ready. Somebody came back in time and gave us the Dreamcast, and everybody was like, "No, man, I don't like it."
It was in a weird place. It was ahead of its time, but behind its time at the same time. It was weird.
I feel like the
How do you even do that?
The only thing I really remember about Dreamcast is that one level in Sonic while the orcas are driving behind you. Like that's it.
Man. I remember fucking Crazy Taxi. Hours of Crazy Taxi. That's
Power Stone, your damn little memory card, which was also like a Tamagotchi. Like that shit was so lit.
That was, dude. You could, oh man. Deep dive on Dreamcast later.
We're talking about Nintendo, not their competition.
Yeah, we gotta keep it back on
competition.
I think a couple of other things that we could talk about when we were talking about how Nintendo's first-party games shaped the video game industry. The concept of party games in general.
Yeah.
They brought Mario Party into the mix.
Mario
Kart into the mix. Smash Brothers, games that really like the biggest best couch co-op games out there. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that they were the ones that kind of designed what that format looks like, and there's not really been anybody that's been able to compete with that since. I can't think of very many party games on PlayStation. I can't think of very many party games on Xbox.
It's almost as if they say, we'll leave that to Nintendo. Like, it's almost as if they know Nintendo's just, they've done it great, and they're just like, we'll just leave that to Nintendo.
Which is crazy, because like Nintendo literally has essentially no competition at this point. It's just themselves.
The fact they still innovate on it just goes to show what a creative company they are.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of what allows them to do so, right? Like, they don't have to necessarily mail it in. I don't think they will. Like, Nintendo's not built like that. Nah. And they don't hire like that.
Nintendo
so I think, like, they can, like, because they don't have competition, it allows them to be very innovative, where they can take these risks and swing for the fences. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, they're like, well, shit, we'll just try next generation.
Yeah, right. No, for real. And they do have a very, like, brush it off mentality, I feel like.
Yeah. They've also capitalized on nostalgia better than any other company that I've ever seen before. I mean, they can they can rewrap something and give it to you, and we will give them money hand over foot for it. I mean,
about Pokemon, I'm here for it.
Right? Right? I mean, the gimmicks that they add to it, like, I'm looking forward to. We talk about the 25th anniversary. We know we can look forward this year to most likely seeing a Pokemon game come out, and all signs point to Gen 4 remakes, and everybody wants Gen 4 remakes. Anytime that there is a Gen 4 Pokemon in a Pokemon announcement, the comments just go wild with hashtag Gen 4 remakes confirmed. Everybody wants to see it. Everybody wants it. I want it. and we're likely to see it. And there's likely either going to be a new mechanic added in there, or we're going to be revisiting an old generation with this new mechanic we got from Gen 8, Dynamaxing, and adding it to the mix. And that is just a complete rewrap of their old content. And again, people are going nuts over it. I am going nuts over it, thirsting
Pokemon,
for it.
Texas.
It's Pokemon, you know, like that's I love that, and you know, and I mean, people are realizing it even more so. You look at Pokemon cards. I mean, that's not necessarily in the video game. It's still in the video game part. It's connected to it. But Pokemon cards have been selling for thousands and thousands of dollars. And there's big resurgence in these old Pokemon cards because people are stuck at home. They finally cracked open their binder. Don't you pull it out, Kev.
He's got binders full of women. I mean, Pokemon cards.
They started... They started, you know, going through and equating those values and finding out, you know, how much these things are worth. And the reason those things are worth that much is because people have nostalgia. Because if people have put a value, a monetary value on that feeling that you got when you were in kindergarten and someone traded you for that shiny holographic Charizard and you got to have one in your hands for a second there. And you were like, oh my gosh, this is the one. So they have really, really capitalized on that. And I think that their first party games, have really, really done well at that, in my opinion.
Also, my hands are a lot bigger now. I was holding cards in there the other day. I was like, "Whoa, these things are tiny."
They're small.
But no, I think another like sort of more evidence to that, right, is like Pokemon Go. Here you had people who had either moved on or thought they had moved on from Nintendo, and even video games in general. And Pokemon Go comes out and it's on their phones. They're like, I guess I gotta play it. You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a great segue into the next thing I was going to talk about. One thing Nintendo has really done well is they've brought in the casual gamer into the video game world. We talk about how successful Nintendo was in 2020, but look back at the big releases for them last year. Animal Crossing was huge, but that's definitely not a game advertised to hardcore gamers. Maybe hardcore fans of the franchise, but not like hardcore gamers. And most of the games that actually, if you look at the lineup were released last year, were ports, or just remakes of stuff like Mario 3D All-Stars. Pikmin 3 was actually a Wii U port. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon was also a DS port to the Switch. I mean, like, all of these, this is the big hit lineup that Nintendo had last year that got them all of the success. And what it is doing is that now a lot of people have a Switch in their hand, because of course they've been selling like hotcakes. And so they want to get all of their old games that they missed. Hey, you didn't have a Wii U. Pikmin 3 was on the Wii U. We're going to port that over. Super Mario World 3D was also on the Wii U. We're going to port that over so that you can experience these things for the first time. Kev, you're one of those gamers. You're one of those people that bought a Switch this year and dove into all those content and started playing Breath of the Wild for the first time. So Netflix does cater a lot to the casual gamer. But my question is it at the detriment of the longtime fan? Jake, we'll start with you this time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think so, because like you said, a lot of people have been able to jump in, and you know, my girlfriend Jessica watches the show sometimes. She's definitely one of those that just got a Switch. She got a Switch Lite not too long ago, right around actually about a year ago, because it was around the time right before the pandemic had really broken off. She got one because of Animal Crossing that was coming up, because she had played Animal Crossing when she was younger. And so Nintendo does a great job. Like after she got bored with Animal Crossing recently, she just destroyed Pikmin 3. She ran through that shit and like loved it, right? And so it's just one of those where like, you know, Nintendo can really get the casual gamers' attention, and they can come in, because Jessica doesn't really game any other time. Like, she'll get addicted to something like Pikmin 3 every now and then, but then after she beats that, she'll go, you know, a little while without gaming again. And so, and then something else will catch her attention, she'll pick it up. It's usually a Nintendo game. But at the same time, I was first in line to get a Switch when they came out. Like, I got, you know, one of like the first launch, you know, kind of editions or whatever. Like, mine's pretty big, a bulky guy. And like, I know they're talking, the dock's fucking huge too. And so anyway, because they've made slimmer docks now, third party anyway. But it's just one of those where like it never really like turned me off, and I can still play Pikmin and enjoy it too, the same way that Jessica does, even though she's more of a casual gamer, because you know, it has not just the nostalgia factor, but they also just continue to make good games Like I don't know. Like that's one of the biggest things why they keep, a casual gamer, but then also lifetime fans is because they continue to innovate on characters that we grew up with, right? Like these are the same characters, but now they're doing new things. But then also they can captivate a whole new audience that may have even just heard about these characters offhand. Maybe they played it as a kid, but then, kind of forgot about gaming or, just didn't really get into it during their more teen years. And so it's incredible, really, what Nintendo's able to do on that front.
Yeah. What about you, Kev? What do you think? Does Nintendo, it caters to the casual gamer a lot, but is it at the detriment of the longtime fan?
I don't think so, because I think that's what they've always been, right? Like Mario's been on every system, Zelda's been on every system, and they've had for the most part, majority of their characters have been on every system in one capacity or another, either on their standalone games or in Smash Bros. Or in some other iteration in which they're sort of introduced. So I think this is always just who Nintendo's been, and I don't. It's hard to say, because if you are a longtime fan, then this is just who Nintendo is, right? It's not like, and for the long-time fans, I think what they try to do, I guess, to sort of balance that or to sort of cater to that is they'll introduce something new, like Splatoon or something like that along the way, where they're keeping their core base, and their core base is the casual gamers. Like, they know who they are. And then to make sure that they don't lose those who've been there since day one, they try to give them something new.
Yeah. I think Breath of the Wild is such a good example
of
that. Where someone, and anybody watching this right now, if you've never played Breath of the Wild, this is not sponsored. I'm just telling you, it's a good game. And I think anybody can pick it up, play it, and have a good time. Your casual gamer can get into it, play it. I would even say beat that game and not, and not feel too discouraged at any time, because while there may be some tough parts, the real hard shit is only going to be for the extreme collector guys. People who are trying to get all the Korok seeds. People who are trying to max out all of their armor. Get all the armor. Or speedrunners, right? Yeah. And so it's one of those where Breath of the Wild is such a good game that kind of encompasses what Nintendo, is now anyway. Where I think a casual gamer can pick it up and have a great time with it. Think it's a beautiful game, but not feel too they're not going to feel too pretentious with the graphics, right? Because it's still got that kind of shell-shaded look. It's not trying to push, fucking 4K. Right. You know what I mean? And so
it's not going to overheat your PC.
Exactly. It's not going to overheat your PC like Cyberpunk. Right. And so they anybody can pick it up and enjoy it and have a good time cooking. Or do whatever you want to do in Breath of the Wild. Whereas, us, and I say us, but, your more hardcore kind of lifelong fans are going hell yeah, open world, Zelda game. What all can I do? Let's test these physics. Can I hit this rock and then ride it on top of this thing and then beat Ganon with a wooden sword? What can I do here?
And that's what I need from Nintendo, right? That's that balance. I have that other side with Xbox or whatever, Sony or PC, right? Nintendo is sort of that breath of fresh air that I'm not going to get anywhere else. And that's
so different. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think that I agree with both of y'all too. I think that Nintendo has a good way of balancing out that. I think Pokemon's also a great example of this. I can run through Pokemon pretty quickly, especially playing competitively and knowing what I know. But the real fun of Pokemon has always been in the post game and competing with other players, building teams, doing things like that, because that's just where the fun of that game is, and creating a Pokemon team and enjoying the Pokemon universe, becoming a Pokemon master, if you will. And so there is that level of, this is where the casual gamer's at, and this is where the competitive gamer's at, and it's a great thing. When I want to connect with little kids that play Pokemon, I can talk about how they play Pokemon, but of course, when I open their game, they've got a level 60 Cinderace and 5 Rookies. But I can still connect, and that person that player.
And then he goes, I've touched your children, and your children have touched me too. And the parents are like, what? No,
I don't. That's not the thing I do. No. But
dark turn.
Dark turn.
I've touched your children. I just always that's one of my favorite scenes. That's one of my favorite scenes in fucking what is it? School of Rock? Yeah, with Jack Black. Whatever. He's like, I've touched your children, and they've touched me too. And they're all like, Jesus Christ! And he's like, no, I mean like with music. And like,
yeah, but I think that it still has that aspect that appeals to it. I know tons of people that are hardcore gamers that did play Animal Crossing. You know, even though I use that example because they wanted
Animal Crossing.
Because they wanted to get away from it. I know that there was, even though that there are casual, like that Animal Crossing is a game for casual players. I still know that there was podcasts that existed on Animal Crossing, on like how to get these right villagers in your village and things like that. So it's people taking at least a hardcore gaming approach to a casual game. And so I think that Nintendo has that unique spot where there are hardcore gamers that love the casual games that Nintendo puts out, and will casually compete in them in the most hardcore ways. We talk about the casual gamer, of course, but the competitive community, of course, has been in the headlines as well, right? All games like Smash and Pokemon and Splatoon all have an intensely dedicated fan base of hardcore players. All of them have also faced challenges from Nintendo directly. From banning modified versions of melees from being used in competitions, canceling live streams for Splatoon that show solidarity with other players, victim blaming and sexual assault claims, and refusing to implement features that would allow for online play to prosper in a pandemic. They have faced a lot of scrutiny over the past several months. What can Nintendo do to fix their relationship with the competitive community, Kevin? Or should these nerds just shut up and turn on items and have fun?
Well, you certainly shouldn't victim blame sexual harassment claims.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that we'll just go ahead and get that out the way. But for the other stuff, yeah, you know, I think you have to listen to your community, especially in this space, right? Like your comp players are the ones that drive this industry, so to speak. And if they're not happy, then they're more likely going to go somewhere else, or find some other outlet or workaround to make sure that you're not necessary anymore. I think that's always necessary, and I think this is somewhere where Nintendo has kind of failed, right? It's been kind of like cute, if you will, in a way where it's like they listen, like for instance, not putting Waluigi in Smash, but putting fucking Minecraft Steve in there. Like we know what you're doing.
Dude, I know what they do.
Yeah, but like when it comes to stuff like this, at some point,
gets in there before.
Yeah.
Waluigi.
But he's still a trophy. But at some point, you still you have to draw the line and then realize that your community does matter, especially if they're the one, especially in this space and arena, right? Like it's not like this is happening without Nintendo's consent. They're sponsoring these community activities, these competitive atmospheres, in these competitions. Sometimes they are. Sometimes,
and then sometimes they pull the plug incidentally at the last minute.
Yeah, sometimes, but for the most part, for some communities, they are, and I think they have to try to do their part to keep those alive. And this is the thing that sort of separates Nintendo from Sony and Xbox and PC, is that Sony and Xbox and PC have completely they're all in on esports and competitive gaming, where Nintendo's kind of like they're dipping their toe, they're not really sure. They're just kind of on the fence. They're like, it's like, what are we, right? Like, are we? They don't know what this relationship is.
I think Nintendo is almost afraid to get too hardcore with their competitive fans, because it's one of those where, like, if they start to enable it too much, then Nintendo starts to be, like, almost looked at as, like, Smash tournaments. And Smash is one of those games that Nintendo makes purposefully that can be played by, two kids that just want to have fun, or two grown-ass, people who know, like, all kinds of crazy movements. Who need to settle some shit. Yeah. And so, like, Smash is just one of those games that's just one example of a lot of Nintendo games where they can be enjoyed by both a hardcore fan and a casual fan. Kind of like, Breath of the Wild, all the stuff that I was talking about earlier. But, at the same time, like, Nintendo doesn't really want to almost put too much clout behind the competitive aspects, because I think they don't want too many people to start, going, wait. There's, like, big strategy to Pokemon. I have to, like, know strategy to win it. You know what I mean? And so, like, because then it's going to make people think, like, they have to be a good gamer to play it. Like, I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine that had never played Halo, and it was just they were just like, oh, I just never thought I'd be good at it. You know, I've seen people play it competitively, and I just thought I'd suck. And it's like, well, that's not a good reason not to get into a game. Like, you know, it's just because you watch somebody play it at a competitive level. That's like saying I'll never throw football with my boys because I saw Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't, you know, like just because TB12 is dropping dimes, you know, like that doesn't mean I got to go out there and do it. Like, we're just having fun.
Yeah. Right.
But, you know, anyway, like I really just think like, you know, Nintendo hasn't, you know, done a great job with their hardcore competitive community, especially in the past. And I don't know if they will, because I think they just kind of want to teeter that line. You know, I don't think they want to get too much into it, because then people will start looking at it as like, I have to be good to play Mario. I just want to play Mario.
Yeah, right. Disbreeze said this in chat that Nintendo's really tried to maintain this mindset that video games are meant to be fun and don't have to be competitive.
Yeah,
and I think that is a good point. But with that same thing said, if you're having a Pokemon competition, you know, then you have to listen to the competitive community. My biggest complaint with Nintendo is that they need to listen more. They do a great job of putting out great content, but they've honestly at times laughed at you know, how teams have taken how they like take ideas from other gamers and how they listen to their fan base. They talk about Pokemon and said if we made a Pokemon game the way that fans wanted it to, it would just be Gen 1 over and over again, you know, with a bunch of, you know, 7 different forms of Charizard. Yes. And there's a part of that I agree with, but there's also a part of that where it's like, you know, one of the biggest things that was at the beginning of 2020, we actually talked about this in one of our first shows, was Nintendo's failure to respond to Pokemon Sword and Shield's competitive community as far as offering a visitor mode, which they had coded in there. They just only had it so that it only worked on LAN. They just had to figure out a way to make it so that it worked through the actual online community, and they still hadn't figured out a way to do it. I don't think that they're ever going to figure out a way to do it. But anyways, it's weird to see that Nintendo hasn't really been able to listen to their fan base in the right way that's made it effective for them to really have the community, the competitive community prosper, because Nintendo's doing well right now. The competitive community should be doing well too. But obviously we just highlighted how honestly it's been one of the most turbulent years for Nintendo in the competitive scene than any other year.
And that's true too. And I think like Jake said, I think they'd rather play it safe on this, because what you don't want to do, and this happens often with competitive communities, is when you start listening to everybody, or you start listening to like only like comp players or professional players, and the game becomes unplayable. That's what happened with Fortnite. That's kind of what's happened with Overwatch. So if you go too far in that realm, it's almost hard to come back from it. And I think that's where Nintendo's kind of cautiously approaching it.
Yeah, I think one of the big reasons why I fell off from Fortnite was just because of how, and I mean, this is my own, like, you know, I'll admit it, like, just how good players got at it.
Right.
And almost how good just casual players got at it. Because I would, you know, jump and just get fucking murdered.
Right.
You know, and that's not fun.
And that was the thing, like, and you'd notice it would happen, those changes would happen because they would change, like, there'd be a new meta every week. And that would only happen because players would complain, like, there'd be, like, an item or something that would make building hard, and they'd be like, oh, we can't build the same, so then they'd take it out even though that shit was fun, and then they would just keep doing it to the point where the game's not even fun anymore. And I think that's where Nintendo's kind of like, or they're trying to stay away from, and it's weird because
Nintendo
again,
doesn't have too many patches.
Yeah, no, they don't. They never do, and they never have. And that's
think about that.
Like, this whole new DLC stuff, if you think about it, is kind of new to Nintendo, right? Like,
Nintendo usually releases complete games.
Yes, what you see is what you get. Like, there's nothing else happening after that. So,
yeah, it's pretty interesting, Nintendo's whole journey with the competitive community, and I hope they start opening up and listening to them. Well, despite Nintendo fumbling things with the official and unofficial competitive communities, nothing quite beats the competition amongst friends. Am I right? As we've talked about at length. About how some of these games have shaped our childhood and honestly continue to shape our adulthood. So this comes the important question. And we'll start with you, Jake. What's the greatest Nintendo console and why?
Oh, man. So nostalgia wants me to say the GameCube, but I'm honestly gonna have to say the Switch right now. And I'll tell you why. It's because one, I can take it with me and literally, like, as I'm on a plane, play Breath of the Wild, then go home, dock it, and continue to play that same game.
Yeah.
And it has, it has Smash. It's got Mario Kart. It's got it has Mario Party, but the GameCube Mario Party is Mario Party, like, I think it's 4 or 3 or something like that on GameCube is when it peaked, and it's one of the most, it's prestige. And so it's just that, a lot of people will say 64. I'm seeing 64. Yeah. I mean, have you played a 64 lately? Like, honestly, like, I'm being dead ass. I have one in there, and I play it. I like it. Don't get me wrong, but that controller, is a fucking nightmare.
Yes, the controller. The controller is the weirdest controller of all time.
And
the game was experimenting with controllers there, and there was one just like that's the one like weird member of the family kind of thing, like the one that talks about conspiracy theories at Thanksgiving. That's what the N64 controller is at the family of controllers that is Nintendo controllers.
Though, look me in the eyes and tell me that they like the Nintendo 64 version of Mario Kart more than the newest version of Mario Kart, right? They're lying. Because, nostalgia may be that, but gaming-wise, the buttons, the turning, the boost, all of the stuff, like, the innovations that have been made and the advancements of the controls are undeniable. And so, I love the Switch. It's my favorite right now. It has so many of your old-school favorites. The fact that they ported a lot of games like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Mario Galaxy, the newest Mario Odyssey was phenomenal. Breath of the Wild's phenomenal. If they would port some old Zelda games, if I could get Majora's Mask on there, or fucking Ocarina of Time, that's like, that would be some bangers.
As Disbreeze was saying in the chat, emulator games for N64 are better than actually playing it on the N64, and I have to agree with that. I
agree. And that was going to be my answer, kind of, Jake. Like, my nostalgia purposes, yes, the N64, but I'd say Switch because some of my favorite games on N64 I can play on the Switch. Hopefully,
with new controls.
Yes, with new controls. Because, and like you said, dude, when that game came out, mind you, I'm like 9 years old. I was holding the controller like this, and I had little hands. I'm like, how do I reach the joystick? Like, it never occurred to me to grab the middle dongle, if you will, whatever what the fuck they call. Like, yes, looking at it, it looks cool, right? You're like, fuck, this thing looks like a fucking fighter jet. Like, it looks
if you had
like
3 hands, it'd be fucking cool. But like, if you had little tiny mandibles that came out and just grab the little part of the controller and work the stick,
Dude, I still remember somebody in my childhood would play the game like this. Like, they'd hold the right hand like you're supposed to, and then they'd hold like the thumbstick like this. No one knew how to use it, and it wasn't until like a year or 2 years after the console was on its way out that I finally figured it out. And you didn't have Google or YouTube back then, so you're just like trying to figure out how to work this shit.
Right, exactly. So for me, I think that the greatest console. One of the greatest consoles for me, though, I think when you talk about when Nintendo peaked, for me, I think that was playing Twilight Princess on the Wii. Honestly, I know that seems like an odd one, but like that was the only one that I felt that they actually utilized motion control in a way that actually worked with the game, and actually felt like it really. It flowed well, and I felt like I was actually, for the first time ever, playing a Legend of Zelda game where I could swing my sword, I could pull up my shield, and fight back against the people, and I could remember actually, and fighting back and actually feeling more immersed in the game because of what I was doing for the first time ever. And I think that was an absolutely amazing experience. I think that compounded with Skyward Sword as well, and so some of the best Legend of Zelda games coming out of there, I think. Were some of my favorites in that generation. So, and the Wii is one of the greatest selling consoles of all time. What it did for gaming, in my opinion, I think really did push the envelope and really did was very substantial. I think the N64 gets the nostalgia factor, but I do think I have to give it to the Wii. I absolutely love the Wii, and I played the shit out of the Wii. And you can still use the GameCube controller.
That's true. And you don't have a Nintendo Switch without without the Wii. Like that, I think you're right there.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing too. I think the Wii came out. It's weird. It sold so many consoles, but I don't think it's talked about. I don't think it's talked enough in terms of like IP because it came out during the Xbox 360 and PS3 days, right?
It came out when the console wars, but everybody thought that war was just as Sony and Xbox, right? Because they put Nintendo, they were like, oh, they got this Wii thing with motion shit. They're not the same.
I think that kind of was the step where it became, because when you had before, you had GameCube, Xbox, and PlayStation 2, right? Which were all like kind of the same kind of game console, at least in comparison when you throw the Wii in there, right? Wii is a completely different kind of console that was in there. And so I think when we talk about when it became the fight between Sony and Microsoft for that hardcore gamer spot, I think it was the Wii that did that. But I think and so although all the hardcore gamers are like, okay, well, these are the only two we're focusing on, the Wii outsold them by like 20-fold.
Yeah,
and
capitalism talks.
It brought video gaming into the mainstream. So
they also and that was I mean that's what I was alluding to, where a lot of that was large part into like they were going outside of sort of this market audience of gamers, right? Like they were getting your aunt, your mom, right? And I think that sort of helped drive the console sales. I think, for instance, I had a Wii, but the only game I actually bought, I think, was Super Smash Bros. Like that was the whole purpose I bought for the Wii. And I also had like some of the older games on the Wii too, right? Like, but I feel like I missed out a lot because there's a lot of great titles that came out on the Wii. I was just kind of my time and attention at the time was taken away by my Xbox 360.
That was what was really dope about the Wii. If you knew the right nerd who could unlock that bad boy for you, like Jessica's brother was smart enough to know how to get like he had basically like every GameCube game ported onto that thing. I don't know how. He through like and so like he essentially had a jailbroken Wii, and that bad boy had a full discography, and playing some of those games was really fun, and the motion controls really set the tone for what became the Switch. And so that's a good pick, Dodd. That's a good pick. I still got to go with the Switch because like of how many hours. I think I've put close to as many hours on my Switch as I did my N64 in my childhood, which has got to be impressive. But it's just because I played the shit out of Breath of the Wild.
I know. And the Switch for me again it's that, like Jake said, that versatility where it's like I'm playing this on the plane and now I'm playing picked up where I left off on my television.
Yeah.
So convenient.
Last question before we go into the top Zen. And this leads into the top Zen.
Yeah.
What is the greatest Nintendo IP? What is the greatest Nintendo franchise out there? Like, if any of them, you don't have to pick which character, right? You don't have to pick which one, but which. If you got to pick one franchise to go with, what's the greatest? What's the GOAT?
It's got to be Mario,
right?
Yeah, it's got to be Mario. There's only one of them that has a whole, physical land you can go to right now dedicated to it, and that's Mario.
I mean, I would argue Pokemon brought handheld gaming into the forefront. I mean, of course, you're gonna know I'm gonna pick Pokemon, right? But Pokemon gaming is what made Nintendo this handheld giant on gaming, and actually helped shape the Switch, and is the highest grossing entertainment franchise of all time, beating out fucking Disney because it sells so much in video games. So like that to me, I think you could have an argument for a case there. And then arguably Legend of Zelda has some of the greatest games of all time. Ocarina of Time is one of the greatest games of all time. Wind Waker's also, and Breath of the Wild.
And that's the thing too. Like for me, it's like Mario is always going to be there, and it's kind of Mario carried Nintendo to where it is, but I think Pokemon expanded that, and Zelda is just like Zelda solidifies its sort of its reputation and credentials in terms of quality games.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. But I just, if you're asking me what's the
greatest,
important, it's a Mario.
Mario was
his character base. Think about it. Like, you got to think if you're playing Smash, like 1/4 of the characters came from Mario.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, I mean, well now, and also about Mario. And also another fourth came from Pokemon, I guess. So good pick, Doc.
Yeah. Right. For real. Yeah. All right. Well, that will take us right into our top Zen. because we talked about some of the greatest IPs of all time, but we haven't talked about some of the greatest IPs of all time that people don't even know about, or hardly know about at least, or could easily pass by and see a picture of it and someone say, "Who? I don't know who that is." But Nintendo has always had a fantastic row of characters, and because of that, so many of them get overlooked. So tonight we wanted to count down some of those overlooked characters, starting off with number 10 on the countdown, which is Peppy from the Star Fox series. KJ Fox McCloud, tell us why Peppy makes the countdown.
Sorry, Slippy. I'll tell you why Peppy's on here. You're not. Peppy is a retired member of the legendary Star Fox team. He served with previous leader and best friend James McCloud, Fox's father, and clever wingman Pigma Dengar. An experienced pilot, he has learned many tricks in his years of flying and is also very knowledgeable about Andros' forces, since he once had to escape captivity at their hands. Even though Peppy is older than all the other Star Fox team members, he declined the leadership role and insisted that the younger Fox McCloud take over the team after James was slain by Andros, R.I.P. After Pigman's betrayal and James was captured, Peppy narrowly escaped to return to Cornelia to inform Fox of his father's fate, and remain by his side, and the rest, as they say, is history. Sorry, that's my dog.
Your dog all right?
Yeah, she's reverse sleeping right now. So.
Oh.
Good girl. She's fine.
My dog.
Yeah. So, anyway, Peppy's always casually reminding me to barrel roll and use my bombs wisely, and he's kind of like a father figure to your Fox McCloud character. He's always mentoring you and telling you, when to do that barrel roll, when to do those sort of somersaults, if you will. And I wouldn't be the R-wing pilot I am without Peppy.
For real. Yeah, no, I think that Peppy is certainly an overlooked character, especially when you look into his backstory, especially with him being kind of a veteran of Star Fox and, kind of being the, old wise man of the team, the Yoda to Star Fox's Luke Skywalker.
Do a barrel roll.
Do a barrel roll.
Yeah.
Exactly. Without him, we wouldn't know to do a barrel roll.
No.
When we need to do a barrel roll.
Wisely.
Exactly.
You gotta use those bombs wisely.
We do. And Slippy's not going to tell you to use those bombs wisely because he's like,
no, he always needs help.
Star Fox, I need help. Drop the bombs.
That's why I didn't make it.
Yeah. That's why he didn't make it on the countdown. But number 9 did make it to our countdown, which is Kamek. Why does Kamek make the countdown? Jake?
Yeah, Kamek is an important character to the story of a few Mario games. He's a loyal servant of Bowser, really likes to steal babies, and is a wizard with the power to shoot laser beams shaped like squares. He's already pretty decent in my book with all of those powers. As often the case in Nintendo games, he can sometimes be depicted as a semi-bumbling villain, but he is not to be trifled with. He always plays a part in a lot of the final boss battles, and one of the big ones is in Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. And he's a pretty big boss and plays a pretty big role in the Paper Mario series and a lot of the early games. And so, so why has Nintendo never invited him to any of Mario parties or sporting events? And why no Smash? The guy's been one of Bowser's right-hand mans through multiple video games, but yet seems to get no respect when it comes to any of the party games or any of the other games that show basically Bowser Jr. Why are there? You can pick between 40 of Bowser's kids, but you can't get his right-hand man. And so there's just no respect for Bowser's right-hand bird thingy, and that's why we had to get him on the list.
Yeah,
for real.
Fuck that guy. I hate him so much.
He can be a tough boss, right?
Well, it's not that. I just remember Super Mario World, him popping up everywhere, everywhere. You'll bounce on his head and he's gone. And you're like, good, he's gone. And then you'll be running and then he just appears and then you die. And I'm like, fuck, go away.
Exactly. He can be a menace, and that's why it's interesting that I don't know if it's that hate is why Nintendo hasn't had him in anything, but the fact that we haven't seen him in one Smash or one Mario Party or even one of the Olympics games, for God's sake. We got Sonic in those. We got
Shy Guys in fucking Mario Kart, man.
Exactly. Come on. But no respect for Bowser's right-hand bird thingy.
He's still in Mario Party. Is he in Mario Party as a playable character? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I guess he does. He does appear in Mario Party, but he's not.
But he's I don't know if he's a playable character. He's just there to fuck with people, you know.
Right.
So, but that's why he comes in at number 7 on the countdown. Or sorry, number 9 on the countdown. Whoa, sorry, I jumped ahead there a little bit. But number 8 on the countdown is going to be one of the Kongs themselves. That's right, Lanky Kong, a severely underrated character of the Donkey Kong franchise, and one of the most unique characters to continually get shafted. Lanky Kong's one and only appearance was in the legendary N64 game Donkey Kong 64, which I don't know if you guys ever played Donkey Kong 64. Mwah. Absolutely fantastic game. One of my favorite Donkey Kong games of all time.
By far.
Yeah, and Lanky Kong was a really unique character. I mean, he was he was the only character that could walk on his hands, play the trombone, and he was one of the only characters other than DK who could transform into another animal. Now, some of you may ask, why was that animal a swordfish? There's not really an answer for that. But Lanky Kong was just a weird one. And I think that's why I kind of really would like to see him in some other things, possibly in Smash or something else, because he was such an oddball character. It seemed like he was the part of the crew that was like, he's the weird one that wears overalls and, you know, has plays the trombone and hangs out, and if there's one member of the Kong group that's in a ska band, it's Lanky Kong, and so that's why I vibe with him so much.
That's true. Lanky would definitely be in a ska band.
Yeah. Do y'all remember Lanky Kong at all?
I vaguely remember Lanky Kong.
Vaguely.
But and I'm glad he's on here. I think there's a lot of Kong family members that need to be on this.
Right.
100%.
I'm glad.
I mean,
I just got Donkey Kong, or 64 for Christmas. It was actually one of the things Jessica got me because I'd been wanting to go back, play it. Like I said, I have a Nintendo 64 in there. So when I talk shit, it's because I've actually played this thing.
Right.
And so this isn't like me just going like off the cusp. Like I actively play my 64 sometimes, and that controller is cumbersome. But like anyway, so I've been meaning to go back and play this one. She got me GoldenEye and Donkey Kong 64. So I need to go back and check out Lanky and just see if I fuck with his vibe.
Yeah, I fuck with Lanky's vibe. Do you remember Lanky Kong at all, Kev?
I see. So I don't. I vaguely remember.
See, everybody forgot Lanky Kong.
I know.
That's why he's a good one. He's a good one for this countdown.
He is. I vaguely remember from DK64, which I didn't play a lot. Which I wish like that. Hopefully, Switch please get a 64 emulator because there's a lot of games I'd like to replay or play.
Port it over.
Right. So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, do like a little Unreal Engine like fix on the N64 version of Donkey Kong 64 and give us that game back. I would dig it. I would go for it hands down.
Yeah. They have 2. They have Donkey Kong Country 2. They just recently put that on there, and so you can go back and play it because I put a few hours into it the other day. So
yeah. Well, just like Lanky Kong, number 7 on our countdown's been around for quite a while. But number 7 on our countdown is Team Rocket. Tell us why Team Rocket makes the countdown, Kev.
Yeah, just like every protagonist needs a great antagonist, Team Rocket has always been there. Whether it's Red or Ash, Team Rocket is the villain that we all need, maybe not the ones we deserve. Team Rocket is a criminal organization set to steal other people's Pokemon with their headquarters in the Kanto region and Johto region and a branch in Seville Islands. They are headed by Giovanni, who also doubles as the Viridian City Gym Leader, Conspiracy Alert. They're all in the anime. They're always blasting off for comedic relief at times. And for me personally, I was upset as a child when there were other antagonists other than Jesse James and Meowth. I think just this cast of characters, not necessarily Jesse James and Meowth themselves, but just the Team Rocket organization themselves. I think they brought a sort of darkness to the Pokemon series and franchise that was otherwise a sort of lighter tone game, right? Like you had well, you would have there would be no villains in Pokemon without Team Rocket if you think about it. Like it would just be you going up against the challenge of with the gym leader. It's just you versus the environment kind of thing. I played Sword and Shield, and I think my expectation, and I hadn't played a Pokemon game since Ruby and Sapphire, but my expectations were they're going to be like the sort of dark forces that worked. And I guess, spoiler alert, I guess Rose was that to an extent, but it still didn't hit the same as Team Rocket, right? They were always in your way. Not only was the trials and tribulations of trying to be a Pokemon trainer like tough enough, but then Team Rocket would just show up and fuck your whole day up. Like, yeah, we're gonna steal your Charizard now if you don't win this battle. You know, like, and I feel like that's kind of been. I feel like that kind of was missed for me in the recent adaptation of Pokemon, but. Yeah, I think. I
mean, Team Yell doesn't hold anything to Team Rocket.
No,
in my opinion.
not even close.
Team Yell
not even
was
close.
like, dude,
They're like fans.
Fucking super fans with horns. Like,
Right.
Team Rocket was up to nefarious acts.
They
Right.
created Mewtwo. They literally created Mewtwo.
Giovanni was straight up stealing shit. I mean,
He was a mob boss.
Yeah, he was a mob boss.
Yeah, and a great name too. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Giovanni.
Right.
yeah, like you're going up against fucking Giovanni. Like that.
Yeah, right.
He's about to use a Kangaskhan to knock your kneecaps out. Like,
Yeah, I almost put Giovanni here instead of Team Rocket just because Giovanni as a character was such a character on himself. I remember going through the dialogue in Pokemon Red and going through there, and I was like, I actually like as a kid even I was like, this guy's mean, and like, like I want to beat this guy up, you know, like
He was an asshole.
Well, in the game, he was much more, and you know, because Team Rocket overall, like you said, I feel like Jesse James and Meowth were almost incorrigible. You know what I mean? Like, they were bad guys trying to steal Pikachu,
incompetent.
but they were incompetent, right? They were like, you know, like,
Matter of fact, I remember Giovanni was like, "Why the fuck are you still trying to steal Pikachu?" Like,
Giovanni would be.
it's like why haven't y'all moved on?
right? Yeah.
This ain't your bag.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ash is a pretty good trainer. Move on. Like, what are you doing? There are tons of trainers. Like,
Yeah.
Right. Just stick to like Route 2 and just like start beating up younglings
how
or
many
something.
Pikachus could you guys have stolen in this time period?
You know?
Yeah.
You could have
back
legit caught a Pikachu by how long it took.
Come back to me with an army of Caterpie, and you know, hopefully we can do something with that. But you know, you're still going after this one. I don't know, man.
And again, that's something I left on my
Reinforce
notes.
is full of them. Sorry.
That's something I forgot to put in my notes. I just realized they created Mewtwo. Like, that's something, they cloned Mew. They captured Mew, cloned it, and then created, like, one of the most powerful Pokemon ever.
Yeah.
Just because Giovanni wanted to be a boss-ass gym leader and have, like, fucking, you know, super weapon as his...
Yeah.
This will obliterate every 10-year-old that enters my gym.
Yeah,
Which ultimately created the first Pokemon movie.
Right. Yeah. I mean, seriously, though, when you think about it, who builds a super weapon to impress 10-year-olds who are coming in and just to bully them, really?
Yeah.
You know, to crush their dreams. You know?
I'm here to beat your children.
Yeah. This will make those 10-year-olds cry as they exit the gym with their
How much
dreams
money do you
crushed.
put into that? Like,
No.
Giovanni, like, chill, bro. Like,
he's got plenty of bank. He's fine.
He's doing good. It's all that mob money, you know. He's got
Yeah.
good stuff. Well, speaking of wannabe mob bosses, Bowser Jr. comes in at number 6 on our countdown. Tell us why Bowser Jr. makes the countdown.
yeah,
Nick.
I personally believe Bowser Jr. is pretty mad underrated. Not only is he really cute as a character, he also has a lot of personality and character development, which you really don't get to see a lot from Mario characters sometimes.
That's true.
So a spoiler on Bowser Jr.'s journey, but he shows a lot of personality in games that he's featured in. You know, he was aggressive towards Koopalings at first, going on a journey to save his dad alone. A very emotional scene of him crying in one game, and in the ending, you know, with him respecting Koopalings. I would honestly say he's not even a villain. All he really wants to do is impress his dad, and he really wish he had a mom to care for him. And I believe that's something that a lot of people could probably relate with.
Right.
And so, you know, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have a thing for villains. You know, that's my last one was camping down Bowser Jr. But like, you know, I just feel like Bowser's got a whole squad of goons that just really don't get enough love, and Bowser Jr. is one of them. You know, he's the firstborn. Yeah, he's in a good bit of games, but overall, like, you know, he's that dude that not a lot of people talk about.
For real. I mean, it's real interesting to me because Bowser Jr. What we really hit the nail on the head is you don't get that a lot from Mario characters.
Yeah.
And you really dissect that for a second. What character development have you seen Mario go through over the past 35 years? It's been an outfit change, man. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, we have seen him go through, I mean, like, yes, he's had to rescue the Peach from the castle, but that's the plot of literally every game. We've seen Luigi go through more character development than Mario.
Yeah.
Arguably with Luigi's Mansion. You know, and
it's the same for Bowser Jr. with Bowser. You know, you've seen a lot more development in the Bowser Jr. character than even Bowser, which is the big bad. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's
that's why I think he's mad underrated. Like
he is. He really is mad underrated.
Bowser Jr. tattoos.
Right.
Like Super Mario Sunshine was super underrated. He was the main antagonist there, basically. What is it, Shadow Mario or whatever that guy was that was running around there?
Yeah. The pollutant Mario. That was back when we all cared about the environment so much to make video games about,
I just started
not
replaying
polluting.
it since they ported it, so I'm very excited to beat Sunshine.
That's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Well, going from cute flying dragon-like creatures to giant man-eating space dragons, number 5 on our countdown is Ridley, a.k.a. Geoform 187, a.k.a. the cunning god of death, a.k.a. the most badass cybernetic space pirate dragon in all of Nintendo.
You really call him 187? Like, what the fuck?
Ridley is a draconic extraterrestrial hailing from the planet Zebes, and he became known as Samus's arch enemy after leading a space pirate raid on her homeworld that killed her parents. Though having been destroyed numerous times by Samus, he is always resurrected due to equal parts space pirate engineering and his natural regenerative ability, which allows him to swiftly recover from what would otherwise be fatal wounds as long as he is able to consume enough biomatter from his fallen adversaries. So literally eating people. Originally appearing as a subordinate of Mother Brain, the main big bad, he returns in Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, but this time he's gone full RoboCop, donning on his iconic cybernetic Meta Ridley form, and even commanding the space pirates himself. Honestly, how can you not love this character, especially once you get into the details of him? He's part Darth Vader, part Smaug, part evil space pirate, part fucking xenomorph. Like, he's an amazing combination of all of these things. Yeah, I mean, did you guys know the backstory of Ridley at all?
I did not. I always thought he was just like this dragon, the space dragon. I didn't know he was so complex and intelligent. Like
Ridley's sentient, you know?
Yeah, I didn't know that like until like recently when I'm like replaying this the Metroid games as an adult. I'm like, oh shit! I thought it was just this dragon that you just went to go slay. You know?
Yeah,
no, it's deeper than that.
I always knew Ridley was responsible for killing Samus's parents because I knew that was the big kind of like overarching thing. But I kind of thought of it as like, you know, destroyed maybe. It was like, you know, a part of a raid that destroyed the village or whatever that Samus's parents lived in. Like, I always thought like, you know, this was kind of like a creature that was just doing some bidding, you know, in a way more so, you know, of the brain than.
And honestly, originally it was, you know.
And so the fact that now it's, you know, Ridley is its own kind of like, you know, filled out character that, you know, sentient, like you said, that's pretty impressive and also very terrifying. It's a very terrifying character overall.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that he's able
made an
to
appearance in Smash this year too, right?
He did. He finally made an appearance in Smash. I want to try to keep the Smash characters off of this countdown, but honestly, like, there's so many things about some of these Smash characters that are highly underrated. We wouldn't be able to talk about Bowser Jr. We wouldn't be able to talk about Ridley. And I think that these are some highly, highly underrated characters. I think Ridley's story should honestly just be explained more if you give me a chance to do it on my own solo Ridley game where I get to be, you know, lead space pirate raids as a, you know, xenomorphic zombie space dragon cyborg. I will totally be down for that. That's hitting a lot of buttons for me.
Yeah,
I don't know about y'all.
I'd play that as well. That's
that's just too cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of one of those things that it's weird that it all works together because it's a space dragon, alien, cyborg, robot, you know, all of these things together, and it's kind of like that Rick and Morty character where it was cyborg gator robot, you know. Oh yeah. In that one episode where everything, like, where it just seems like you're just two cool things mashed together kind of thing. Well, this is like, you know, a bazillion different stuff mashed together.
It's like a KFC bowl. Like,
KFC bowl of all these good.
Like, why does this chicken taste so good with this corn on these mashed potatoes? Like what's happening?
Right. You don't know. You don't know.
Right.
But yeah, Kev. Yeah, you got any thoughts on Ridley making this high on the countdown?
No, I think Ridley definitely deserves to be here, mostly because he's fucking terrifying and has some depth to him. So
yeah, it actually has some depth to him. And it originally was just this like crazy creature, but as the leader, he developed more. He was able to become sentient and actually can talk. And like, I can't imagine having a conversation with Ridley. That sounds
not at all.
That sounds terrifying. Do you expect him to be like really like creature-like or like sophisticated? I don't know. I'm putting too much thought into it. Anyways, we got more on this countdown.
You showed me that, and you said, "Hey, can you do a voice for it?" My voice would literally be, "Ah!" And so that's like the only thing I could think of, like
disembodied voice or something with like 3 different tones. Or something.
And then you would have to be like, "Oh no, he actually uses words," and in which case, then I immediately go for like, "Hello, Samus." Like,
that's actually scarier than what I had originally.
Yeah, what I had in my head was like the sophisticated like, "Hello, Samus," and like I don't know, I can't do it off the top of my head.
I'm thinking more of a schmog.
Schmog, Sean Connery. Well, hello, Samus. Once again, it seems we find ourselves in this predicament once again, don't we?
I used my tail to completely gut your family. So.
I did. And then I ate them to regain life.
And then I ate them, yes, to regain some life.
Health points.
Can't you tell by my skin? Look how tight it is.
Well, speaking of things with not tight skin, number 4 in the countdown is Cranky Kong.
That's a great transition.
Yeah, right on the fly there.
Cranky Kong, also known as Donkey Kong Senior, Donkey Kong the First, or as I like to call him, Donkey Kong Pops, is a widower and Donkey Kong the Third's crabby, rambling and complaining grandfather. Bet you didn't know that Donkey Kong is actually Donkey Kong the Third. Anyway, husband of Wrinkly Kong and father of Donkey Kong Jr., the Donkey Kong we know, his father. It's weird, stay with me here. Cranky has made numerous appearances throughout the Donkey Kong series. He usually acts as a guide in the games to help his grandson Donkey Kong or other Kongs along the journey, as he has had some enlightening experiences. In the original DKC trilogy and other appearances, he is heavily implied to be the violent and bad-tempered and clumsy Donkey Kong and escaped circus animal from Big Ape City / New Donk City. I had to put Cranky Kong here, guys, mostly because I just started playing Donkey Kong Country again, and I just love just seeing his old cantankerous ass just turn your day up, telling me to turn my old 90s music down. Right. Giving you tips, yeah. So
but he was always but he was the cranky wise guy kind of thing. He wasn't the Master Yoda. Was like, ooh, we're gonna do this thing. No, he was the one that's like, I'm gonna hit you with the cane kind of thing. And he is one of the only characters in the Donkey Kong franchise. We talked a lot about Donkey Kong characters earlier, but he's one of the only characters in the Donkey Kong franchise that I see in almost every Donkey Kong game.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, he's almost always that guiding force. So I think that he definitely
one of my favorite characters from the animated, if you can call it that, series. Terramated, yeah. Like, I mean, Cranky Kong. I believe it's in Donkey Kong Country, and it's right whenever it's coming in, the little album spinning, and then he like puts the cane down, and that's when that beat drops, and you're just like, oh shit, this is Donkey Kong Country, like it's about to start. And so like Cranky Kong always is there with some quick tips and there to make the beat drop. So I'm here for him.
Well, not like you said, like the first image whenever you hear think about Donkey Kong is like when the first scene of the opening game when he's just spinning his old records and then his
right. Here's what doesn't make sense about Cranky Kong, right? He's always like cranky, turn the music down and all this stuff, and then like all the rest of the crew, like when you think of DK's crew, he's got Donkey Kong's have the bongos. Diddy Kong has the electric guitar. That is a little bit more sophisticated. Trombone for Lanky Kong. I think Tiny Kong plays the saxophone, and Chogi Kong plays the triangle. So all these kind of rudimentary things. But Cranky Kong's got the full soundboard, and with like fucking, is able to mix it with the records and everything. Like he's got the full setup. Why is he so much more technically advanced than the rest of them? How did that work out? How did he? I don't know, man. There's some continuity errors.
I think he could do some damage with the cane.
Right?
So. Yeah, for sure.
That's a C stick if I've ever seen it.
Right? I think so. too. Yeah. Well, number 3 on the countdown is a highly underrated character for some good reason, but is also one of the first, arguably one of the first trans characters to ever exist within gaming, which is Birdo. Birdo is a highly underrated femme queen of a character who doesn't get much visibility, mostly due to problematic and transphobic representation in the past. Despite her past representation, Birdo is widely accepted as one of the first trans video game characters of all times. Early manual entries for Birdo misgender with using he/him pronouns and saying things like, Birdo is a pink dinosaur, he likes to pretend he's a girl and gets happy when people call him Birdetta, which is real gross and kind of transphobic. But after that, other depictions didn't get much better and started describing her as it, which is also really problematic. But nevertheless, Birdo is now referred to with she/her pronouns and is widely accepted as Yoshi's girlfriend in canon, and has been depicted as strictly female for a few generations of games now. While Birdo is widely accepted for being the first, her representation of the past seems likely to be a bad joke made by Nintendo, and that kind of turned into creating a trans icon. Though Nintendo has never officially recognized her as a trans character, they never officially said she's a trans character. They just call her by she now. It's definitely a weird one, and it's probably why Nintendo has been so standoffish with Birdo. But to a lot of people, Birdo is a very, very important character. You know, and if we're gonna allow Daisy in Smash Brothers, I mean, why can't we find a spot for Birdo? You know, like if Luigi's gonna get his girlfriend, Yoshi should get his girlfriend in there too. Personally, what do you guys think about Birdo?
That's true. I don't remember really much of Daisy. Like, what games has she been in? Like, I remember, I very much remember Birdo for a few Mario games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Birdo's definitely giving me some fucking problems.
Yeah.
I ain't never seen Daisy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, right. She's always shooting those eggs at you. Like, fuck.
Exactly, yeah. Birdo's done some damage. Daisy,
Right.
I ain't never seen her. Like, we don't know her. Like, what's she doing in Smash? But then Birdo can't just shoot eggs at people? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
There's also some weird continuity issues here because some people are like, well, is Birdo a female Yoshi? And I was like, well, no, Birdo was originally, described with he/him pronouns and all this stuff. And then it's like, well, why do female Yoshis have a giant cannon on their nose? You know, all of this stuff that just doesn't really make too much sense. I think
I think people try to reflect too much on 3D characters.
Yeah.
like just let it be Birdo. Just let her be Birdo. I mean, now if they use the right pronouns or whatever, but it's just one of those where it's they're trying to figure out why she should or why like female they're trying to figure out the anatomy of female Yoshis, and it's just like, bro, just play the game.
I get that there are some people that think too far into it, but I do think that one of the reasons that Birdo does have that popularity is because there are so few trans icons in video games.
Oh no, for sure. I'm talking about the actual trying to figure out why male Yoshi shit out eggs and female Yoshi spit out eggs. I'm like, why do you need to figure that out? Like, just let male Yoshi shit out eggs and let female Yoshi spit them out. Like, just live with it.
I get you on that, but my point here is that there's so few trans icons within video game culture that people will even embrace the problematic representations as just something to hold on to here. And I think that's a really it's a weird aspect of Birdo. I think that Nintendo could definitely do some cleanup on how they present Birdo going forward. But if they do that could actually make Birdo a really, really influential character, in my opinion.
Yeah, strong. It could make it really strong and make it really, like you said, it could, if they did it right, it could be a great form of representation.
Right. Yeah. Well, number 2 on our countdown is one that I know that everybody's been waiting to hear. Right? We got to talk about Waluigi, right?
Wow.
Tell us why Waluigi is number 2 in the countdown, Jake.
So I get it. Waluigi isn't exactly uninvolved. He's been in a few video games. He's a pretty fan favorite. Everybody knows Waluigi, but he seems to have many fans, and is the star of a large array of memes, and it makes sense too. Waluigi is a great character. He's one of my favorite characters. I pick him in every Mario Kart game I can. But there is a few games that I can't pick him in, and there's one that fans have wanted him in for a long time. And so Waluigi is unique, and the persona that is established with him in games and in projects, basically a lot of fans kind of project onto him in a way, I think, how his personality would be. And so I think we built a personality for Waluigi, even without having a standalone Waluigi game. right?
I mean, the guy looks exactly like, a stereotypical a villain from, what was that? What's that driving show that they had where they had the dog?
The
Hanna-Barbera cartoon. He looks like the villain from every one of those kind of cartoons, in my opinion.
Yeah. Waluigi's loved by many. I mean, he is one of the more, I would say, prolific Mario characters. I think a lot of people like Waluigi, and so it's like, why can't Nintendo give this man his own standalone game? Luigi's had a bunch. Wario's had a bunch. Yeah. And so it's ridiculous that my man's here has yet to have his own standalone game, and we can't even get him in Smash.
I was about to say, yeah, shit, dude. They can't even get a Smash invite.
Can't even get him in Smash.
The disrespect for Waluigi.
It's
like and if you played even his trophy is like OP. Like when Waluigi comes out onto the field, he's gonna beat your ass.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just don't understand why they can't put him in the game. Like they put so many characters above Waluigi. It's asinine at this point.
Minecraft
I think
getting in fucking Smash.
That's
Waluigi.
That's the one that hurt because it's like at this point they're just doing it on purpose now. They're trolling us and pissing us off. Like we're never putting Waluigi in. We're just gonna.
Like I said, Wario, for him to get the games that he's had, right? Like we've had Wario World. I mean, and Wario's had games dating all the way back to old games.
Oh yeah.
And so, like, and they were always fun and innovative and kind of like crazy, zany style games with a bunch of like crazy little mini games and shit. And it was like, they tried to do kind of like a more bumbly kind of like villainesque version of Mario with that guy. And then, but Luigi's had Luigi's Mansion. Luigi's been featured in a ton of Mario games. But our boy Waluigi can only be in what? Mario Aces? Get him in Mario Aces and Mario Kart. Oh, and he's in Mario Party. I know he's been in almost every Mario Party as well. So, we've got him in a few party games.
But not Smash.
But not Smash. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And he hasn't got his own standalone game, which I think is the biggest travesty. I think most people would believe he's number 2 on this list because he's not in Smash. And I agree. I think that, yes, should be in Smash. But the reason why I wanted him so high was because he's been a prolific villain in the Mario universe for a long time and has never got his just desserts. The dude's never had his own standalone game.
Waluigi's Mansion, where instead of Luigi, where instead of like how Luigi's Mansion where he goes through every room, he's just scared as shit. Just have Waluigi go in there and just like and just like brazen his shit like give me a ghost.
Literally beating the fuck out of ghosts. Just
actually
no, it would be him walking in and then summoning ghost, right? Like it'd be the opposite. So it would be like Waluigi summons demons and like he has a Necronomicon.
Oh my god!
And it's just like wow. Reading Latin.
Listen up, Nintendo. Listen up, Nintendo.
Nosferatu.
Oh my god. We got your game right here. What you do is you have a game where Waluigi is selling mansions to other people, and then he has to put the ghosts in there to chase them out of the property so he can resell the house again. That's the game.
Mansions are haunted because Waluigi murdered everyone in them. That's the dark twist on Luigi's Mansion that you don't know about.
Yeah, that you just didn't see coming.
The Waluigi game will be you trying, like it'll be Detective Luigi trying to stop the Waluigi serial killer.
Waluigi is Kevin Bacon in Seven.
Yes.
But no, so that's why he's number 2 on our That's why he's number 2 on the countdown.
Catch me if you can.
Does not get the respect. Does not get the clout he deserves. He's one of the greatest, and he's our meme king. So.
He is the meme king, absolute meme king. Well, number 1 on the countdown is one that we all know and love, but is definitely not really ever represented as a Nintendo character at all for the most part, despite being a huge part of Nintendo's biggest franchise. So number 1 on the countdown is Master Hand. Why does Master Hand make number 1 on the countdown? Kev.
Speaking of Smash Bros, sorry Waluigi, you are being snubbed here by the great entity that is Master Hand. Master Hand is a hand-like entity who acts as the main recurring boss in the Super Smash Bros universe. He appears at the final destination stages as the final boss, as whatever character you're using has willingly fought through hordes of classic Nintendo protagonists and antagonists, only to be met by a floating, disembodied hand glove character who grabs you, punches you, smashes you, claps you with some other random hand that comes out of here and flicks you with his finger. just to show you that you were merely a toy in his game of Smash Bros, which, by the way, he created. He created the entire Smash Bros universe, plucking reluctant Nintendo characters and franchises, except for Waluigi. That's actually Master Hand. Right. That's his greatest.
Master Hand.
Master Hand is Waluigi's hand.
Oh
shit.
He's been in Smash this whole time, guys.
He's been in Smash the whole time.
It's been Waluigi. Okay, so number one is Waluigi's hand. Specifically his left hand.
But no, I get why Master Hand's number one, man. He's literally, like you said, he's only represented in the Smash games. I want a full-length story. What's his backstory? Who is Master Hand? Does he have loved ones? Did he lose the loved one? Why is he so mad?
Did he lose his body?
Yeah, dude.
Is he just a hand now?
Is he just a hand now?
Like,
yeah.
And my thing is, so I remember from the original Smash Brothers opening, there would be like these little toys. They were all the Nintendo characters, and then his hand would come up and throw them into like something and give them life or whatever. So maybe it's like some different dimension, and Waluigi has somehow transversed it and has become this hand, or maybe his hand has passed some other dimension and it's plucking Nintendo characters out and putting them into battles against each other. I don't know. It's so ambiguous. There's so many different ways we could go there. But yeah, Master Hand definitely, like we mentioned before, super underrated, super critical to the Nintendo sort of character roster, and of course the Super Smash Bros. Franchise, because the Smash Bros. Universe would not exist without Master Hand.
Exactly. I mean, I think that one of the
let's give him a hand.
Yeah, let's give him a hand, right? Let's give him a hand. hand for Master Hand, guys. One of the most memorable boss fights I can remember from Melee, which is the greatest game, one of the greatest Smash Bros. If the greatest Smash Bros. Game, was not just the fight with Master Hand at the end of each campaign, but was the fight with Crazy Hand and Master Hand on the same stage on Final Destination as the last event in the events that you had for Smash Bros. Melee. And that's still, I think, to this day, a pretty impressive feat to be able to do, to be able to take down both Master Hand and Crazy Hand before they take you off. I
mean, just, dude, that one of the toughest boss battles as a kid of all time. And the fact that it's only in this one game is kind of strange. Like, I'm surprised we haven't got to see Master Hand or more about it. Just like like we said, more backstory into Master Hand. Underrated to be one of the toughest bosses in video game history.
Yeah, for real,
for sure.
For as being as tough as he was, and especially with he just connected all the franchises together, and like Master Hand was ominous too. I mean, he was just a hand, but I don't know, he was still scary to me. Like he was just in the spooky Final Destination. Yeah, it's like
very hands-on.
Right? Nintendo really wanted to give this kind of feel that it was like a kid opening their toy set and playing with their toys, and that's why there was all mixed and matched in different courses and different places.
But
and that's why it got out of hand. It got out of hand. Yeah. Well,
you gotta hand it to him with this.
You gotta hand. Richie's going with hand puns. Is that how we're gonna finish off the show? We're gonna end on hand puns, I guess.
I'll hand it over to you now, Dad.
All right. Well,
and I think this top 10 was really handy.
It was. All right. Well, we'll shake the rest of those off. Anyways, okay. Well, that'll about wrap it up for this episode of Geek Life. We hope you've enjoyed everything today. And remember, if you want more, you can always follow any of us follow us on Twitter, follow us on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook. We're also on Discord, Spotify, all the places. Follow us there. If you're already following us, you can always share us and like one of those posts, leave a comment. Anything helps. If you want more content than even that, you can also follow any of us on our own personal socials. You can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Rusbane, WRUSE_BANE. Jake, where can they find you?
You can find me at Gonzo Gone Live on both the Twitch and the Twitters. And I may be streaming some later this week, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And Kev, what about you?
Yeah, Kevin Todd Jr. across all socials and Totally Awesome on Twitch.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, Littlest Nelly and Greatest Shaman, for the bits. We love you guys. Hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you back here, same time, same place, next week. Till then, peace out.